Order filled. Order submitted. Order cancelled. Order canceled. Order submitted. Order filled. Order submitted. Order canceled. Order filled. Order submitted. Order filled.
a lot of conversation about whether we're in a bubble or not, and I'm curious where you land.
I think that the underlying trends are real. AI is incredibly powerful in terms of the capabilities and is nascent in terms of how those capabilities are showing up in business. We are at the very, people talk about the promise, but actually how the promise is affecting businesses is early, but it's just going to get bigger and bigger. Now, I do think that the market sometimes gets overexcited in terms of predicting the future. I'm happily not a banker anymore. Those were many, many years ago, so I don't spend too much time thinking about whether the market is overheated or not. What I do know is that the underlying trends of AI and how they can affect everyone's lives and also how businesses operate are real, and we're seeing that impact happen, and it's only going to scale from here.
Dara, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate it very, very much, as always.
Anytime. Thanks.
You bet. Great to see you.
When we come back, is AI to blame for the recent round of high-profile corporate layoffs, or are there other factors at play? Our Steve Leisman will tell us about AI washing in the labor market. And later, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on the shutdown, China trade, the Fed, and much more. That interview coming up at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Squawk Box will be right back.
This CNBC program is sponsored by Baird. Visit BairdDifference.com.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Put America's strength to work in your portfolio with BAM Insured Municipal Bonds. Protect your investments with an added layer of security and guaranteed income. Invest with strength. Build a stronger tomorrow with BAM Mutual.
Only ServiceNow connects every corner of your business, putting AI to work for people.
Every corner?
Every corner, Nick. So Kate in HR, hey Kate, can focus on people, not process. Patty in IT is using AI agents to deal with the small stuff so she can work on the big stuff. AI helps Jim solve customer problems before they're problems.
Oh, so we all work better together.
My work here is done.
Excuse me, which way back?
CNBC. Live ambitiously. Buy the dip with CNBC Pro's Best Deal of the Year. Market-moving news and interviews across 3 global live streams. Subscriber-only content from Wall Street pros like Josh Brown.
If you love the stock market as much as I do, you're going to love the best stocks in the market list.
Plus exclusive live events.
This is my first time at the stock exchange, and it's been awesome.
To be on the floor, I just can't believe I'm here.
Go pro with the Best Deal of the Year at cnbc.com/pro Black Friday. Terms and restrictions apply.
The wait is over. Everything's on sale at the Sephora Savings Event.
I want this and that, and that. I want this and that.
Everything you really want, all on sale now.
been a string of corporate layoffs in recent weeks, and articles in Wall Street Journal about even white-collar workers. Stupidly, I'm wearing white collar. Steve Leisman is here, smart enough to wear blue collar. Is AI intelligence, is that to blame? Should investors be wary?
We did a joint research investigative story with this using Gabrielle Fonrouge, our retail reporter on .com, myself, Frank Holland, and we looked into this. 48,000 jobs at UPS, 14,000 at Amazon, 1,800 at Target. A slew of layoffs has raised fears that AI is already whacking corporate jobs, but not so fast. In some cases, companies could be involved in what we call AI washing, giving the impression that the new technology is already replacing jobs that are in fact being cut due to a downturn in the business, restructuring, or other reasons. Whatever its intentions, look at this. UPS said in its earnings calls, and I quote here directly, "We launched our Efficiency Reimagined initiatives to undertake the end-to-end process redesign effort, which will align our organizational processes to the network reconfiguration." You get that?
It's like gobbledygook.
My colleague Frank Holland found there was some AI-related job losses, but 34,000 were linked largely to closing buildings, right-sizing the staffing level, especially in the wake of the online shopping boom from the pandemic. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, he had to walk back the impression created by both the media and the company itself that recent corporate layoffs were linked to AI. He said, quote, "The layoffs were not really financially driven, and it's not even really AI-driven. Not right now. It's culture." Peter Capelli, a professor of management at the Wharton School, says there's little evidence so far that companies are even able to replace workers now at the kind of scale we're talking about.
Using AI and introducing it to save jobs turns out to be an enormously complicated and time-consuming exercise. I think there's still a perception that it's simple and easy and cheap to do, and it's really not.
So far, AI job losses look like mostly the low-skilled and entry-level jobs. Some companies have announced hiring freezes in anticipation of productivity gains from AI. Goldman Sachs surveying 100 of its investment bankers to see how AI is impacting their clients or hiring at their clients, and found that AI-related job losses could lead to workforce reductions of 4% over the next year and 11% over the next 3 years. That's potentially substantial and fast, though it doesn't account for new jobs could be created by the new technology. It also shows it's early days for AI to be responsible for mass layoffs, and that investors need to be wary of regular old job cuts wrapped in AI clothing.
You did point out that at the end that we don't know about job creation from this. There are, we're hoping, there's wishful thinking that it's like so many past disruptions where the new technology is either net the same or even better for employment. I don't know if that is too much to hope for. And the other thing, every employment report that we used to get in the old days, it would be a net number that would include millions of both additions and losses, and that's sort of the
You're
same
absolutely
thing.
right. It's the churn is where the action is, right? It's 5 million hired and 5 million fired and 5.1 million hired, and that gives you job gains of 100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about the U.S. economy is the dynamism, and actually it's one of the things that economists follow is that dynamism, and there's been a little less churn. People, locked into mortgages, we keep looking for that. Yeah. But now you have the work from home thing, Joe, which enables as well the idea that people you can get workers from different parts of the country that don't have to move to different places. There was people who were upset from Amazon who, when they did the return to office thing, they moved back and then they were fired after that. So that was a concern. But we just want to be careful. I think what there is there's so much hype and craze and excitement about this new technology. There's this idea that, it's happening now.
Well,
it's not happening now.
The idea that you pin everything on it, like, oh, it must be this, it must be that.
Right.
We just had the small business, John Gibson from the Paycheck Small Business Report, and they are seeing the highest level of hours worked, the highest level of increased hours worked weekly in a decade. And I asked, is that because they don't want to hire new people? He said, no, it's because they can't find anybody. It's a supply issue.
There's a whole other dynamic going on with immigration and deportation that's part of it. You have some decline in the labor force participation. What's going on with the workforce is a huge thing. I found it interesting, though, that he said that wages have not gone up, but hours have gone up. if that's the case, you can expect perhaps some increase in wages down the road, although he did say that was a big part of the inflation outlook. I listened to what he was saying. That's going to be an issue. And then you get to this point where, okay, is AI going to replace workers or complement workers? If you hear David Solomon talk, they're talking more about complementing workers. It does maybe create this hiring freeze. Entry-level jobs and call centers is another place. But right now, a job like Joe Kernan's, how could AI possibly replace?
No, it's impossible. It's impossible. You'd have to have some solid algorithms, even with Next Headroom. You can still buy a buggy whip.
Of course you can.
From Westfield Whip Manufacturing. It's an artisan maker that caters to what they call a very niche market.
And you can buy a cassette.
It's a very...
You can buy a cassette tape and listen to AM radio too. We've moved on from those.
We were talking about bubbles and the like, and it's just something that occurred to me, and we heard Dara say, the trends in place with AI are very, very powerful. You go back to the internet, no way you could have anticipated how powerful that was. No way. None of us did. And you look at the market caps of all the stocks that are associated. No way. It's exponentially greater than our wildest dreams, and it could be the same with AI. We're going to break down. Sorry, Steve. Squawk Box coming right back.
At Capital Group, we design our active ETFs to weather the ups and downs of the market, so they can be rooted at the core of a portfolio. They're meticulously crafted to endure. Capital Group, actively different, active ETFs.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
The premiums were getting unreasonable.
We just didn't need the coverage anymore.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can it keep me warm when I'm cold?
Wait, no, I'm always hot.
Sleep Number does that.
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Sleep Number does that. Your ideal firmness and effortless comfort all night.
Can it help us sleep better and better?
Please.
Sleep Number does that. It's the Sleep Number Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort that adjusts to you through all of life's changes. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
When cyber threats target the world's data, seconds matter. That's why the world's most trusted brands depend on ReliaQuest Gray Matter to contain threats in seconds. It's the only technology-independent, AI-driven platform built by security operators for security operators. ReliaQuest. Make security possible.
Down, up, right, left, inside, out. Sometimes it's hard to make sense from nonsense. Go beyond the headlines. A trusted global perspective. The Economist. Know which way is up.
Hey, Perry.
Can't talk. Must guard. You should get SimpliSafe proactive monitoring, like us. The AI camera alerts SimpliSafe agents before a crime can even start.
And there's an anti-theft guarantee.
SimpliSafe. Real security stops crime before it starts.
Seabus, your company started here?
Hello?
But look at you now. Your small team has become a not-so-small team. It's time for Seabus. Accounting, advisory, insurance, and more. Seabus. Insights that impact.
Haven't you heard? I'm the Wicked Witch of the West. This is between the wizard and I. Run.
Rated PG. In theaters November 21st.
Commercial real estate deal-making is having a rough 2025. We have new data breaking down which companies are buying and which sectors are heating up. Diana Olick joins us with the details in this week's Property Play Deal Report. Diana, good morning.
Good morning, Becky. And yeah, our new deal report tracks the top 50 CRE property sales across the U.S. with monthly data provided by Moody's as a media exclusive to Property Play. It shows that transactions have stalled at well below pre-COVID levels, with the overall dollar volume growing just 5% from last year as of the third quarter. Now, trends in September, it's a flight to quality, economic uncertainty hitting the hotel sector, and signs of recovery in office and open-air retail specifically. Let's start with flight to quality. Now, the average dollar size of sales in September is up to $12.7 million, compared with the average of $11.2 million over the last 2 years. Of the 50 top deals closed, 29 were over $100 million. Now, the volume of $100 million plus deals in Q3 was up 35% over the last year, while the volume of smaller deals has been flat or shrinking. Let's turn now to office. Apple spent $365 million on an office property portfolio in Sunnyvale, California. Phidias spent $83 million on a single office building in Santa Clara, California. And MetLife got a roughly 39% discount deal on an office property in Newport Beach, California.
Given that kind of discount, some of these companies, especially large tech companies with a lot of cash, can scoop up their own campuses and for a relatively cheap cost. So that has been a bit of a trend. We saw Microsoft do that in Seattle recently as well.
Now, as I said, there's also new life in open-air retail and this pullback in hotel. We've got much more on all of that in the new deal report with Moody's in the Property Play newsletter. It comes out in just about 20 minutes. Go to cnbc.com/propertyplay or use that QR code. Back to you guys.
Diana, thank you very much.
Meanwhile, when we come back, big news for you. Palantir shares giving up some ground today, but that stock is up more than 150% this year alone. We're going to talk with an author who got unprecedented access to its CEO and co-founder, Alex Karp, for a new biography that's coming out today. That's at 7:50 a.m. Eastern Time. Squawk Box coming right back after this.
Goldman Sachs active ETFs. Designed to deliver outcomes. Driven by more than 150 years of rigor. Not just active, relentless.
CMOs, CEOs, listen up. 81% of commerce happens in the real world, not online. Your 2026 plan needs a real-world strategy. AI is killing your traffic. Big tech owns your audience. You need to turn every touch point into a direct-to-consumer funnel. Scan now for the 2026 big-ass CMO growth plan. Flowcode. Instantly connect fans to your brand.
Some people like doing things the hard way, like doing their finances with a spreadsheet instead of using Quicken. Quicken pulls all your financial info together in one place and updates it automatically. How easy is that?
Hey, small business owners, pickleball is kind of like bookkeeping and accounting, right? Lots of strategy, lots of effort, and if you don't have the right partner, you just won't win. It's time to team up with a winning partner. Call Zendu, and let's get that win today. Zendu, the official bookkeeper and accountant for small businesses.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, you can simply arrive or make an entrance. Stick to the agenda or experience something unexpected. With IHG's 20 hotel brands, you can guest how...
Here for when you wanted to make some healthy choices, but didn't realize how many choices there were.
Need some help?
Which one's for athletes?
B12 to help with your energy.
Well, Americans across the country are heading to the polls today. Joining us right now to break it all down is Libby Cantrell, who is the head of U.S. Public Policy at PIMCO. And Libby, thanks for coming in this morning. As somebody who is looking at this from a business perspective, from markets perspective, what's at stake in these elections today? Off year, but you have some important ones in Virginia, New Jersey, obviously mayor of New York City, and a lot of other states around the country.
Yeah, no, that's right, Becky. I mean, I think that it is important in that this is the first time where we can test some of the trends that we saw in 2024 as it relates to President Trump's dominance, particularly with some making some inroads with minorities and with younger men. So it's sort of a test of is that durable? Is that just sort of bespoke or idiosyncratic to Trump, or is this more sort of a general trend for Republicans? And I think we will see that, particularly in New Jersey. There's some congressional districts that we're taking a look at. However, I think that broadly speaking, a lot of people like to extrapolate from these off-year, odd-year elections, and I think it's difficult to do so. But again, they could give us some clues about sort of how the durable trends or how durable those trends are that we may have seen in 2024. And then also potentially how effective the shutdown strategy is for Democrats.
In some of these races, like Mamdani here in New York City, Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, if they don't win by a lot, what does that tell you? Because they started out with pretty high odds and pretty big leads.
Yeah, so I think, Mikey Sherrill in particular, I think a lot of folks were... Mikey Sherrill, I think she was viewed as a potential presidential candidate, and I think that I think that her campaign has been maybe a little bit more lackluster than folks were expecting. And New Jersey, of course, has been reliably more or less blue, but again, I mean, Harris only won New Jersey by 6. Biden won it by 16 points, nearly 16 points. So I do think that this could, again, show you whether this is some of those, again, maybe seeds that we saw in 2024, whether they were more durable trends. If you zoom out, though, what you see is that in terms of the preview for the 2026 midterm elections, and I think that's what our clients are focused on. What does this mean for the upcoming midterm elections as it relates to Democrats and Republicans? You only really see a correlation if there has been a decisive win by one party in both New Jersey and Virginia. And New York City, I still think is sort of more idiosyncratic.
Yeah.
You saw this in 2009, for instance, in the preview of the 2010 wave election. You saw this in 2017 in preview of the 2018 sort of dominance of Democrats in the House. So I think that is sort of more what we're looking at in terms of the kind of the macro trend as it relates to the midterm elections.
If Mamdani wins, as most polls suggest, and certainly the predictions markets are better in 2 years.
Well, again, I guess I'm a little bit closed primary here. On the Democratic side, I think there's some, questions about just candidate quality in general. So, I think that, maybe is it a referendum against some candidates versus a referendum for? I mean, I think one learning, however, for Democrats is that Mamdani is sort of like Trump in that he's very clear in terms of messaging. President Trump was very clear on economic issues. He really understood sort of the zeitgeist of the voters in 2024. And I think, to Mamdani's credit, he's also understood that, right? He's been really leaning into affordability. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson for Democrats is just the kitchen table issues, gas and groceries. Those things really matter to voters. And I think that, again, Mamdani, like Trump, sort of has tapped into that.
It's hard to really get your head around what a 90 or 84% chance of winning, 16% chance, 84-16. That's Chettarelli and Mikey Sherrill right now. I'm trying to figure out exactly what that means. Because if you knew Mikey Sherrill was going to win, it'd be 99%. So 16% are
really close.
I know,
Yeah.
and the momentum was, and it's a real number. And we did see, I'll never forget, 80-20 Hillary Clinton, and I watched that flip in the New York Times poll on the betting sites. 80-20 went to 20-80, and watching, you probably haven't seen all the ads that we get in New Jersey. She's been almost Kamala 2.0. I mean, word salad, ask her what she wants to do. She had not anticipated someone would say, what do you want to do as governor? She had no answer for what would you do as governor. So we'll see how it finally, but does a 16, what is that? It's a little less than a one in 5 chance of a surprise upset. So it's possible.
Yeah, and I guess the, the read through for the markets and for kind of the macro economy is like, what does this mean for 2026, right? So if you have Ciattarelli winning in New Jersey, does that mean that Republicans?
Trump is the only reason Ciattarelli would not president in New Jersey, because.
I mean, you know the state much better than I do.
Well, it's if it was President Harris, I'm pretty sure Ciattarelli would be a shoo-in.
Yeah. The other election that we're monitoring, of course, is Proposition 50, which is the referendum in California.
Right.
And that is obviously important because of the redistricting. Yeah. If that were to pass, it is good for Gavin Newsom's presidential aspirations, but also for Democrats in terms of their effort to negate some of the redistricting efforts by Republicans.
I mean, it sounds like it just leads to more of
back and forth,
where you end up shutting down the government because you can't reach across party lines on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's very good for the functioning, the political functioning of Washington or for democracy in general. The other thing, though, that I think maybe has not gotten enough attention is what's in front of the Supreme Court, which I'm sure Joe is following, which is the Voting Rights Act.
Right.
Because if that of course is either overturned or diluted, that could not only mean that Republicans have a chance of keeping the House in 2026, but honestly for cycles to come. So that, I think, is almost a bigger issue than Prop 50 or what's happening in Texas, because that could lead to sort of secular or super secular trends and would likely benefit Republicans.
Libby, thank you.
If Mamdani is 90%.
Well, he was like 98% at one
What is he now? Isn't he only 9 or 89?
The early voting suggests that there's a lot of turnout that could benefit Cuomo, right? So in New York polling, as you know,
could this be the biggest
has been
surprise?
actually
This could be the biggest
incorrect.
surprise.
So
It could happen.
I guess that polling, I think, is just incredible.
You know what? We're all going to sound a lot.
We need Al Michaels.
Tomorrow.
We need Al Michaels. Do you believe in miracles? Coming up, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
The government shutdown, trade, and much more with the Treasury Secretary. She's going to join us at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll be right back.
Repair Clinic came to AmericanEagle.com with a pressing need for digital expertise to serve our expanding parts and software business. AmericanEagle.com optimized our website, turning our proprietary data, content, and diagnostics into a powerful platform that reaches more DIYers, pros, and enterprise clients than ever before. If you're looking for an agency who can solve your complex digital challenges, contact AmericanEagle.com today.
He sure knows these parts well.
Folks say the planes whisper to him.
Outlaws in 500 feet. Rerouting.
Making it up!
Innovation changes everything.
Man, he's good.
With one investment, you can access the NASDAQ 100 innovators who are rethinking the world. Before investing, carefully read and consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, expenses, and more in prospectus at Invesco.com.
Tap into the data you need to see the market your way. Introducing the new Power E-Trade Pro, your ultimate desktop trading platform. It gives savvy traders like you nearly unlimited customization with up to 120 tools across 6 workspaces, plus automatic pattern recognition and education built right into the charts. Finally, a platform that thinks like you, from the original place to
Drive Time makes it easy to buy a car.
Yeah, already approved. That was easy.
Yep, and you can even customize your own terms on every car.
Oh, there's a little slider thing. I can change my down payment?
Yeah, and we have thousands of cars under 15 grand.
I never had this kind of power. Boom! Lower! Lower! Lowest down option. Low monthly payment option. I'm making my own deal on all these cars!
Welcome to Car Buying Made Easy. This is a commercial. Go get your real deal at drivetime.com.
I paid for my own college, so I knew I'd have to start accumulating a lot of money, paying student loans, paying rent. There wasn't much left over. Every month I put whatever I could into Wealthfront. It does the work for me. I don't have to worry about picking stocks or making sure that I'm getting the highest interest rates on the market. I have these automated mechanisms that save for me and take care of retirement for me. If I send my money to Wealthfront, I know that it's being taken care of. It's my all-in-one financial advisor.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. We're going to take a look right now at alternative investments, specifically what's called evergreen funds. And Leslie Pickard joins us this morning with a look at that. Good morning, Leslie.
Hey, good morning, Andrew. Wealthy retail investors have been pouring capital into alternatives in recent years, thanks in part to the explosion of funds specifically structured for some liquidity. However, unlike the traditional funds geared toward institutional investors, the capital that goes into so-called evergreen funds often has to be spent as soon as possible. Billions of dollars searching for assets to buy all at the same time is raising concerns about distortions that are pushing up prices in a way that affects returns.
I think one of the concerns is, are you feeling too much pressure from the flow in the evergreen fund, and are you ending up doing deals that are not as good return or not as good deals because you have deployment pressure?
Nachman runs asset and wealth management at Goldman Sachs, which has its own G-Series suite of open-ended funds across multiple strategies. Nachman said he doesn't set deployment targets for his team, though. The universe of evergreen private market funds is estimated to be about $427 billion, according to PitchBook, which is estimated to more than double within the next 5 years. For our latest deep dive into evergreen funds and how they're structured for immediate deployment, subscribe to our Inside Alts newsletter using that QR code on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, guys.
Leslie, thank you for that. We'll be making sure to take a look at that newsletter. Appreciate it. Meantime, Palantir shares, they're a bit lower this morning. This despite the company reporting better than expected third quarter results and raising its full year sales outlook. The stock now up more than, you ready for this, 150% this year. Our next guest has a new book out. It offers a rare inside view into the mind of Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp. I want to welcome New York Times Magazine writer Michael Steinberger. His new book is out today, Philosophy in the Valley, Alex Karp, Palantir, and the Rise of the Surveillance State. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We could talk about the earnings, but I'm actually more interested in the man himself, given the amount of time that you spent with him, and what you think the biggest takeaway of this entire project has been for you.
Well, listen, he's a very charismatic figure. You guys have him on quite often, and he is reliably unscripted. He speaks exactly what's on his mind. He's very provocative, very entertaining, and I was given extraordinary access to him. Once he decided to cooperate with the book, he was very generous with his time, spoke with disarming candor about a lot of issues, and I learned a lot about him. I would say one thing that people should know is the fear factor for him. Fear is a major motivator for him, and he biracial, Jewish, dyslexic, and he intuited at a pretty young age that he had some strikes against him as he saw it, and this gave him a sense of vulnerability that carried into adulthood. And I would say that one way of understanding Palantir is that it exists in some sense to make the world safer for Alex Karp. He takes their mission very personally, and his worldview, which is a kind of dystopian worldview that humanity is inclined to disorder and violence, is Palantir's worldview. And the sense of vulnerability is still a major factor in driving his decisions and driving the work of Palantir.
How, when you think about what this business becomes, I'm now asking you to look into a crystal ball, but, it's evolved in a huge way, even just over the past couple of years. Obviously, the company's famous for working with governments, but often now is working with businesses. If we were having this conversation 5 or 10 years from now, and I said Palantir to you, how do you think the world would think about that company? What would they think what would they think that company does?
Well, it's a great question. Obviously, the name is almost synonymous these days with surveillance, but that's just a small part of what it's involved with. And it's not a surveillance technology company per se. It just facilitates the work of law enforcement and intelligence services that do survey people. The commercial side of the business is huge. I will tell you what Karp thinks. A few years ago, we had a conversation, and he suggested to me that he thought that Palantir could become, to this era, what IBM had been in a previous era. In the 60s and 70s, when IBM's technology was kind of the backbone for a lot of what government did, a lot of what the military did, and for a lot of corporate America. And we had this conversation, and when we had this conversation, the stock was about $10 per share, and the company still hadn't turned a profit. And I suppressed the urge to express any skepticism because I didn't want to lose my access to him by ticking him off. He really did think it could become the next IBM, and here we are now 3 years later. The stock is $200 per share, and it seems that Palantir has a very good chance of becoming the de facto backstop technology, the de facto operating system for the U.S. government.
Michael, we often talk about Elon Musk and the power and influence he has over the world because of what he's doing with SpaceX and obviously with Tesla, but mostly because of his ability to work with the government as it relates to something like a Starlink, and his ability to either turn on or turn off a certain country or in certain moments, and that gives a private citizen remarkable power. I'm curious how much power and influence you ultimately think that Alex Karp has in the context of Palantir. Does it have so much influence over these particular industries that it's in, or is there so much competition in this space that it's different?
Well, there doesn't seem to be a great deal of competition in this space. I mean, clearly, those who use Palantir, whether it's an industry or the government side, swear by it. They think it is a cut above what's available to them otherwise. How much influence does Karp have? Well, I would turn it around, maybe phrase it put it a little differently. I think one of the questions at this current moment, obviously they're very involved now with the work that ICE is doing. They're involved with the military. They're a huge defense contractor. And I think the question on the minds of a lot of people is, are there things that could happen over the next few years that would cause them to reconsider some of these relationships? Obviously not on the military side, but with something like ICE. I mean, they worked with ICE during the first Trump presidency, and Karp at the time expressed some misgivings about that contract, he didn't agree with the policy then. He's changed his mind about it now, but I think it's fair to wonder, are there some red lines here where they might say, we can't do this work for someone? They have turned down clients in the past. The U.S. government wanted them to provide their software to the Saudi government back in around 2012 because there was concern about that the Arab Spring was happening. There was concern about the stability of the Saudi regime, and they said no because they were concerned about Saudi Arabia's human rights record. So they have said no to clients in the past, and I think it's fair to wonder what lines might exist in Karp's mind now.
Hey, Michael, we've known Alex for a while, too. Not as well as you've gotten to know him, but, he seems pretty much what you see is what you get. He doesn't seem to edit himself super extensively.
That's what makes him must-see TV, doesn't it?
Right. But with success, sometimes people change. Did you notice that at all with him, or you think he's still the same person as when you started talking to him?
No, that's a great question, and no, he hasn't changed. I mean, what you see now is what he was before. It's just he has many more people who want to hear from him now. But unscripted, I mean, he's done this his way. He's a very improbable figure to be leading this company. You think about it, he grew up in a staunchly left-wing household, no background in computer science or business, and he ends up running this company that provides software to the military, intelligence services, and now has turned it into this $500 billion colossus.
Right, studying content. It's like amazing through these things. We talk about Elon Musk, and we've been talking him in the context of this pay package as the key man. How much of a key man is Alex Karp for Palantir?
Well, he's obviously central to this company. I mean, this company reflects his personality, his persona, the things that keep him awake at night, things that scare him, to an uncanny degree. It really is sort of the representation of Karp's worldview in a way that, obviously, when founders are still running companies reflect them to a great extent, but this is to an even greater degree than you would find otherwise. You know, there is always the question, and Karp is in his late 50s now, there's always the question of succession. He's been at this for a very long time, and his schedule is crazy. I don't think he spends more than 2 nights in the same place ever.
Imagine wanting to do something else, though.
None of us would sleep.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't want.
If we knew what Alex knows about 100 drones attacking a stadium football game. I mean, he's working on things where one pulse can knock out all 100 or whatever, however many it is. But if you really are face the facts of the things that people that wish us ill can do right now, none of us would sleep.
That is right. I mean, I think he feels that his worldview has been vindicated. The thesis behind Palantir has been vindicated.
I wish we could talk to him about it.
Michael, we want to thank you. The book is called Philosopher in the Valley. We appreciate you joining us. And as all of this has been happening, Michael, if you can believe it, literally as you've been on television, it just so happens that we found out that Alex Karp is going to join us somewhat impromptu this morning, given the earnings report last night.
Or to correct what I said.
8:40 Eastern Time.
I'm listening to this guy. I need to come in and just nothing he said. Right. He's like that movie.
I'm going to get edited in real time here, huh?
Marshall McLuhan comes out from behind a pillar and says, "Nothing you're saying is correct about my view." Yeah. So Alex. It's Annie Hall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And their sisters.
All right, folks, it is 8 a.m. on the East Coast, and you're watching Squawk Box right here on CNBC. I'm Becky Quick, along with Joe Kernan and Andrew Ross Sorkin. The futures this morning are in the red. Dow futures off by about 280 points. S&P futures down by 65. The NASDAQ down by 350. Treasury yields this morning have been a little weaker. In fact, the 10-year right now is at 409. The 2-year is at 358.
Treasury yields are at 409. Treasury Secretary is joining us now, Scott Bessent. We worked on that segue, Mr. Treasury Secretary. I hope you liked it. How are you? Good to see you.
Good morning, Joe. Good to see you.
Let's talk tariffs, and since it's front and center for everyone with this beginning now at SCOTUS, you have said you're going, and you want to be in the front row. I think your chances are good if you say that's where you'd like to sit.
Look, Joe, I think it's a matter of national security, and this is one of the president's signature policies, and it'd be very unusual for the Supreme Court to overrule president's signature policy. Supreme Court gave President Obama a lot of room on Obamacare, and President Trump's 2 signature policies have been securing the border, which has been a incredible success, and it has been the tariff policy rebalancing U.S. trade, and it's economic security. And we've had 3 emergencies here. First emergency has been the fentanyl crisis, and President was able to use IEEPA to bring the Chinese to the table on the precursor chemicals. Second emergency was, I think we were at a tipping point in terms of our trade deficits. We are bringing those down. The deficit with China is down 25%. We could have had a looming financial crisis. And then number 3, the president, after the Chinese said that they were going to put export controls on rare earth minerals for the globe on October 8th, President was able to use his IEEPA emergency powers to threaten 100% tariffs, bring the Chinese to the table in Kuala Lumpur and Korea, and get the rare earths to flow. And if that hadn't happened, that manufacturing facilities, not only in the U.S., but around the world, would shut down. So, this is an emergency power that he has used during emergencies.
There might be compelling arguments on the other side, Mr. Secretary, and I like the Journal kind of made me laugh today because in their lead op-ed they said, few conservatives are more deferential, not to President Trump, but to presidential overseas authority than we are. They've stood in the way of a lot of things, I think, that the president has tried to do, obviously, although, out of all the op-ed pages, the friendliest probably has been the Wall Street Journal. But they point out that Article 1 vests Congress with authority, and that was the intent because of what happened with taxation without representation, that it vests Congress with the authority to negotiate trade deals and to impose tariffs, and it was like that until Smoot-Hawley in 1930, when they thought the president needed to be able to have that authority. But up until then, it had always been the purview of Congress to regulate tariff policy.
Yeah, Joe, but there are lots of other authorities, too. President has 232s, 301s. Those are all from the executive branch. And again, IEPA is an emergency authority, and we were in an emergency situation, and this is crucial for the U.S. economy.
Do you think, Mr. Secretary, that the Supreme Court is so up to date on these stories? Here's where I'm going with this. A lot of people would probably say the trade imbalance has been there for a long time, and that all of a sudden it's an emergency. They would question that. I don't know what they'd say about fentanyl, but when you talk about rare earth metals and what that could do to the U.S. economy, that, I think, even SCOTUS, even Supreme Court might say, you know what, in this case, the emergency power is absolutely, you could actually use that in that case and be totally justified. Do you think that they could look at it that way?
Well, Joe, let's think about, and as you know, in economics, there's a concept of a tipping point, and I think that there's a point where you get to an emergency. What if someone had held up their hand, like many people did before the great financial crisis, and said we're heading for a calamity in the housing market, and if someone had exercised emergency powers then, we would not have had to go through 2008, 2009, and the aftermath and what it did to the American people.
I'll just ask you one more thing, one more point the Journal makes. If the court blesses this unlimited presidential tariff power, future presidents, i.e. Democrats, were going to do the same thing. An all too likely example would be a climate emergency. I could see this happening. They call it that all the time. A climate emergency to tax imports of countries with high CO2 commissions. You can fill in the blanks for something that Democrats might do if this were upheld by the Supreme Court. Does that concern you at all about what the other party would do with this type of power?
Look, if the president does need emergency power, and I would question whether there's a climate emergency. I've been hearing for years that there's an emergency. The planet's going to be on fire in 5 years, 10 years, and the only thing that's happened with that is an excuse for my children not to do their homework because there's not going to be a planet. So, it's all been proven wrong.
Or not to have kids. I know. It's crazy. Beck?
Mr. Secretary, thanks for being with us today. We're now in day 35 of this government shutdown, tied for the longest government shutdown ever. The Hill has just been reporting in the last couple of hours that some centrist Democrats are signaling to their Republican counterparts that they might be willing to cut a deal, that we could see an end to this coming soon. I think Susan Collins had kind of suggested maybe we see an end to this by the end of this week. But they're also saying, some of these centrist Democrats, that a red flag is that the president may not be serious about health care reform. Can you tell us what the administration's plan is on this front, what you're hearing about any of these talks, what you know?
So, Becky, I've called for 5 brave Democrats to come across the aisle. And, what's changed since we got the clean continuing resolution in the spring? 2 things. One, Senator Schumer's poll numbers, he's sinking like a stone. So we're being held hostage to his poll numbers. And then 2, the Democrats have tried to stop President Trump in the courts. It goes to SCOTUS, they get overruled. They've tried to stop President Trump in the mainstream media. That hasn't worked. So now they've shut down the government and they're harming the economy. So I think it would be great if 5 moderate Democrats became heroes, reopened the government, and for the entire shutdown, whether it's President Trump, Speaker Johnson, or Leader Thune, they've said reopen the government and we can have the conversation on health care, but we can't do it while the government's closed down.
What should that conversation look like, Mr. Secretary? Because it's also been pointed out, the subsidies were pandemic era subsidies, and you need those to keep some premiums from doubling for people. But the real thing is it's the Unaffordable Care Act. The premiums are going up because the cost is going up, and there's no way to provide Affordable Care Act services without numbers like that. Is there a plan? Because the president has talked about a plan for a long time, and here we are.
Yeah, Joe, I'm not going to get into negotiations until the Democrats reopen the government. So, I'm not going to preview it. That reopen the government, and then the talks can start. And, the crazy thing is they kept talking about a November 21st deadline, and we're getting there, and they haven't reopened the government. So, we're starting to see this affect the economy. We're starting to see the airport delays and shutdowns. And I can tell you the American people are going to blame the Democrats if the busiest travel day of the year, the day after Thanksgiving, is a disaster. People aren't able to be with their families. They should be ashamed.
There's an election today in various places, Mr. Secretary. As the highest economic official in our country, and we're sitting in the capitalist center of the universe right here in New York City, and we might elect either a socialist if you talk to one person, or if you talk to the president himself, a communist. What is your take on what's happening in New York City, how it could affect the country writ large?
Well, Joe, New York is losing its status as the capital of capital. The United States is maintaining it. They're opening Wall Street down in Texas, and Wall Street jobs have been fleeing New York. What we saw during the pandemic was the greatest transfer of wealth in history from Manhattan County to Palm Beach County. And I can tell you that if you get Caracas on the Hudson, which it looks like the polls are saying you're going to get, you're going to see more people, more capital fleeing. So it's good for Connecticut real estate, good for Florida real estate. And nothing says that New York has to remain the financial capital.
Secretary, we always get to some of the interesting water cooler type stuff. And I guess Tesla and shareholders are going to decide on a pay package. The latest I've seen, and I loved your answer that you gave, was there was some kind of kerfuffle you had, not with Bill Pulte in this case, which we've asked you about in the past. This one involved Elon Musk, that you grabbed him by the collar or something, and your only response was, that can't be true because he didn't have a collar. I think he has a scruff of his neck. Was there any grabbing of anything in that general area, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, no, Joe, look, this is old news, and Jesse Waters has a great sense of humor, and Elon and I were very passionate about what needed to be done with government. He did a fantastic job in setting a trajectory for downsizing government, which we've continued. Spending is down over the past 2 quarters. We're going to keep it down. And what's gone unnoticed during the government shutdown is we actually had a smaller deficit for fiscal year 25 than we did for 24. It was small, but nonetheless, the deficit was smaller, and because the GDP went up, deficit to GDP went from 6.4% to 5.9%, and I think we can continue bringing that down.
You okay with that compensation package? And then I know Andrew has a question.
Well, I think it's great that Elon's back in the private sector. He's one of the great entrepreneurs of the generation. That's up for the shareholders to decide. But the amount of value that he's created for his investors and for his shareholders is phenomenal, and it's across a range of industries.
Mr. Secretary, I wanted to actually go back to the issue of New York and the prospect that Zohran Mamdani could be the next mayor. The president made a comment during the 60 Minutes interview on Sunday that potentially the administration would, or Washington writ large, would send less money to New York as a result of that, in part because he said, you don't want a communist effectively in charge that would then misspend such money. How much discretion does the administration have in terms of its ability to turn on the spigot or turn off the spigot to a particular state, and in what areas?
Well, I think it's on a lot of the large infrastructure, spending, and Andrew, I think we can see that we have some discretion here in D.C., but the real discretion is people voting with their feet. You see these Democratic states. New York has, for years, had net outbound migration. Illinois, net outbound migration. California, net outbound migration. So it seems like more money should go to the states that people are moving to.
Mr. Secretary, if the Supreme Court were to go against the president on this, are you confident that another route can be found to continue with the policy and not get into the morass of trying to be? I don't even know how it would work if you had to, start reversing some of the what we've seen with the tariffs.
Yeah, Joe, there are lots of other authorities that can be used, but IEPA is by far the cleanest, and it gives the U.S. and the president the most negotiating authority. And again, when we get something like October 8th, where the entire manufacturing ecosystem in the U.S. and the world was at threat of shutdown, then it's very important to be able to have these. The others are more cumbersome, but they can be effective, less. It hinders the president's negotiating ability to be able to protect the American people and the American economy. So, this is very important tomorrow, and SCOTUS is going to hear this. And again, this is a signature policy for the president, and traditionally SCOTUS has been loath to interfere with these signature policies.
I guess I'll just ask you one quick question on China. A lot of talk about what actually went on with NVIDIA chips and the Blackwell chips. Are you among the people in the administration that think that China should never get those highly advanced AI chips, or is this saving something to negotiate the future with? Because it always seems like these are stops along the way with these negotiations with China. They're evolving, and we continue to deal with things, and they continue to deal with things.
Well, if we think about the Blackwell now, that they're the crown jewel. That 12, 18 months ago, the H20s were so good, were the crown jewels. So, Joe, I think what you're describing is actually the pace that the technology is moving, not the pace that the negotiations are moving. So there may be a case down the road, I don't know whether it's 12 or 24 months, given the incredible innovation that goes on at NVIDIA, where the Blackwell chips may be 2, 3, 4 down their chip stack in terms of efficacy, and at that point they could be sold on.
And it's your take, your contention that China had a plan with these rare earth materials, that this was in the works, and whether President Trump had poked the bear in the first place to try to reset global trade with China, either way, that would have been something that China was planning to use. So it's not like, the president, critics say starts a fire and then puts a fire out and takes credit for putting it out.
Absolutely not. This is something that they've been putting together for 35 years. The Rare Earth Magnets Company actually used to belong to General Motors. A Chinese company bought it. Phidias, which is the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., said they had to keep it in the U.S. for 5 years, 5 years and a day. In 2000, they moved it over to China. They've been accumulating these rare earth assets for years. And, Joe, it's important to know that they put this restriction on the entire world. So, don't accuse President Trump of doing this. But what I can tell you is after the meeting in Korea, it was a very good meeting. Both sides approached it with great respect. I think President Trump is the only leader who President Xi respects. We had a very good meeting. The relationship is in a good place. I think we're going to have 2 state visits next year. President Trump will be going to Beijing, and Xi will be coming to the U.S., and they may also see each other at the G20 in Doral and then the APEC conference in Shenzhen in November. So I think the overall U.S.-China relationship is on a much more even keel now.
Secretary Bessent, thank you so much, as always. We appreciate it.
Good to see you, Joe.
Good to see you. Squawk Box coming right back.
Goldman Sachs Active ETF GPIQ consistently seeks to deliver monthly income without sacrificing capital growth. Active ETFs from Goldman Sachs. Not just active, relentless.
When logic bends, when certainties shatter, when left is right and right is left, which way do you turn? Go beyond the headlines. A trusted global perspective. The Economist. Know which way is up.
What's this?
My new pony, and I love him.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I ran the numbers on Quicken. It's totally in my budget. Bad, Mr. Sparkles.
Allowance, birthday money, investments.
Quicken tracks all my income and spending, and even built me a personalized budget, so it's easier to save more.
This is amazing.
I know. It is. Yeah!
Do more with your money.
Hi.
Rated the best budgeting app.
It's a lot of money.
Connected world is crazy. Infrastructure without any structure. Hackers. Vendors on vendors on vendors. Workers everywhere. But Cloudflare takes care of the crazy, protecting workers, consolidating vendors, delivering AI apps, all on an intelligent global network that fights the crazy, so you can stay calm.
This way
Debbie
is way
Day.
faster.
It's like this.
I paid for my own college, so I knew I'd have to start accumulating a lot of money, paying student loans, paying rent. There wasn't much left over. Every month I put whatever I could have into Wealthfront. It does the work for me. I don't have to worry about picking stocks or making sure that I'm getting the highest interest rates on the market. I have these automated mechanisms that save for me and take care of retirement for me. If I send my money to Wealthfront, I know that it's being taken care of. It's my all-in-one financial advisor app.
When you've got a classic ride, you need tools you trust. Whether you drive it every day or only take it out on the biggest night of the year, count on Harbor Freight. Early Black Friday is here.
Coming up next, why New York needs the ultra-rich no matter who's mayor. We'll discuss. And then Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma joining us with the latest out of Washington as we edge towards the longest shutdown in history. Plus, Palantir's Alex Karp will be joining us in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. A huge half hour, 45 minutes ahead, right here on Squawk.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
What do you say when a Jewish boy is kicked on a New York City sidewalk? What do you say when a Holocaust survivor is firebombed on the streets of Colorado? What do you say when 1 in 3 Jewish Americans were victims of hate last year? When there are no words, there's still a symbol to show you care. Share the blue square and stand up to Jewish hate.
Time is your most important asset, and AI is transforming the speed of business. Your innovation and how you protect
Order
it
filled.
depends on the technology you choose
Order
to trust.
submitted.
70% of the Fortune 100 trust CrowdStrike's leading AI-native cybersecurity platform, built to secure their business, and the AI fueling their innovation. AI is changing the world. We're securing it. CrowdStrike. We stop breaches.
See, I made this one crooked.
This moment, story time for Sarah. It means everything to them and to all of us. At Evernorth, we make complex care journeys simpler with comprehensive coordinated care for better patient outcomes. Now, Sarah's grandma doesn't spend all day at the infusion center. She gets her treatment at home with Evernorth's specialty pharmacy, Accredo. So Sarah never misses story time. Evernorth Specialty Services, because every moment counts.
While some see a financial world upended, we see opportunity. At T. Rowe Price, curiosity drives our analysts and portfolio managers to ask questions others don't. It's why our active ETFs can make the most of an unpredictable market and are ready for whatever's down the road. Active ETFs from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
Rated PG. Never miss a moment. If you look at overall corporate earnings, they continue to be very strong, but we've seen probably more layoffs in this round of corporate earnings than we've seen in a long period of time.
There are things, of course, about AI which are interesting in terms of the length of time that GPUs last. What we can say is there's a lot of risk.
Think of AI as a tool. What it doesn't replace is really smart, creative people.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. It is election day, and in New York, the city's economy relies on the ultra-wealthy. So the big question is, will they stay no matter who is the mayor? That is the question of the morning. Robert Frank joins us now with that story. Robert.
Andrew, great to see you. Well, as you just mentioned, the top 1% of New Yorkers pay 40% of all income taxes. Mamdani wants to tax those making $1 million or more an extra 2%. That would bring the combined New York City and state top tax rate to 16.8%. You combine it with federal, it would be 53.8%. Now, the New York mayor, of course, he does not have the power to raise taxes. But if somehow the proposal passed in Albany, the top 1% of New Yorkers would pay 60% of city income taxes. The New York economy, though, depends more than ever on these very wealthy taxpayers. Luxury real estate sales, so the top 5% of the market, they jumped 14% in the third quarter. That compares to a decline nationwide. In the last 3 weeks alone, 98 contracts were signed in Manhattan for apartments priced at $4 million or more. That's up 20% from last year. So far, we have not seen any Mamdani effect in the high-end real estate market. But New York millionaire and billionaire populations, they also continue to hit new records. There were 34,000 New Yorkers making $1 million or more in 2022. That's the latest period. And over 2,000 making more than $10 million. New York is home to 152 billionaires, of course, more than any city of the world. Wall Street bonuses also set for a new record this year with a bonus pool of over $30 billion. Some bonuses expected to increase by as much as 30%. And we heard Secretary Besson talk about Texas. I was interested to find that Texas now has more finance jobs than New York City.
Really?
And that's for the first time ever. Right. Of the 220,000 financial jobs created in the past 5 years, only 19,000 came to New York. The rest were Florida, Texas, North Carolina, and Georgia. So underneath, we have a vision of image of prosperity in New York right now. The economy is booming. Markets are driving up a lot of these values. But underneath the surface, Wall Street has been trickling out of New York, and he's right about that for a long time.
Robert, what was so interesting, though, about the stat you mentioned from Texas is they combine, and I thought this was interesting. I wonder whether if we separated it would be different. They combine financial services with the insurance industry. Yeah. Now, the insurance industry is, to some extent, a financial services business, I guess. But it is interesting when you look at that, when you look at those stats, they do say financial services and insurance. I don't know where, if insurance unto itself was always stationed in New York City or not.
Yeah, it's not as large a component as finance, but even when you strip out, Andrew, the insurance, that drift from New York and just the new jobs in finance created. You talk to Goldman Sachs, you take JP Morgan now has more employees in Texas than they do in New York City. All these major banks are hiring mainly outside of New York, and I think that's one of those trends that whoever is mayor is going to be concerning, and certainly more concerning under a mayor that wants to raise taxes and make things, some would say, even more difficult to operate in New York City.
Here's a question. Does the mayor do things like try and change the laws? Like during COVID, even if you never set foot in the city, you would be charged New York City tax rates. Are they going to say if you're a New York City company, you're going to have to pay taxes on anybody you hire outside the state or something crazy? And would the courts support that?
Of the $9 billion that he wants to raise in revenue, I think $6 billion of that is going to come from an increase in the corporate tax from 7 to 11%. That is really, I mean, he's supposed to be a proponent for small businesses, but that corporate tax going from 7 to 11% is even more dramatic and is supposed to raise even more revenue than the personal income tax side. So that, I think...
Raising the corporate tax rate by more than 50%.
That's exactly right.
That's a shocker and a kick in the teeth.
And if that happens, I think you're going to see even... It's
more
just very tough. New York is a very tough place to operate as a business. We've seen that.
It's 89 now. Sorkin, 89. 89, 89er. 11%. Isn't that... It would be 99. It would be 99 if there was no chance.
I don't know. You know what? We'll know tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have this conversation all over again. Robert, want to thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
89's not 99?
You're talking prediction markets
on Namdani.
Yeah.
It's 11. Up next, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen on shutdown negotiations. First, though, as we head to break, here's a look at the pre-market winners and losers in the S&P 500.
Order filled. Order submitted.
Right 89.
Order canceled.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Ever worry that you're drinking too much? Take back control with Or Health. Or Health provides access to medication proven to help. A daily pill to drink less, or to quit drinking altogether. Text CNBC to 710-710 to learn more.
Your ED could be in your head, but for too long, outdated ED meds have been obsessed with your plumbing, giving no thought to the spark that starts in your brain way before anything even twitches. That's why we made Rougiette Ready, the first ED med that works on both brain and body, with sildenafil and tadalafil to help optimize your body's natural response, and apomorphine to complement that reaction in your brain. So don't just get a reaction, get ready.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, you can unplug for the day or plunge into a long weekend. Savor the moment or savor the details. Earn points for free nights with IHG One Rewards.
There are different ways to get to the future. Take on the morning or take care of dinner. You can take on the world or create your own. Fidelity can help you save for and live in retirement with timely insights and a free personalized plan that helps you track your goals. No matter what your future holds, Fidelity can help you take on retirement.
Here for what the doctor prescribed. And yeah, just what the doctor ordered.
Today marks day 35 of the government shutdown, tying for the longest shutdown in American history. Joining us right now is Oklahoma Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin. And Senator, thank you for being with us today. As this drags on, you have more and more people trying to figure out how and when this ends. There has been some reporting this morning from the Hill and other places suggesting that there are talks taking place behind the scenes. Are you aware of any of those talks with, I guess, moderate Democrats and Republicans kind of trying to figure out how to open things up?
Yeah, I wouldn't really say it's been negotiating. It's timing more than negotiating. The Democrats that I've been privileged to have a good relationship with, I mean, we have talked, I don't know how many times around the table at my house. Last night, we were having a conversation. It's all about the timing of an off-ramp. They've been looking for an off-ramp. They thought after the No Kings rally, they would have an off-ramp. Unfortunately, Chuck Schumer felt like it tightened their grip, that they couldn't allow the Dems to release their hold on the government and quit using the American people as hostages or leverage points. And so they wanted to wait until after today because they were afraid if they opened the government up before today that their base wouldn't show up and vote in Virginia and New Jersey where we have tight elections. And of course you have your, as you guys have been referring to, your interesting mayor, as I like to refer to as your communist mayor, that's going to run the great city of New York. But after today, the negotiations to keep Dick Durbin from voting with us last week, which would have caused a jailbreak because he's the #2 Democrat in the Senate. He had expressed concerns about continuing keeping the federal government closed. The conversations that took place in a long conference was, if you'll wait until after Tuesday, he will release everybody and allow them to vote the way they want to. So that's why I have said it very bullishly last week and all weekend is that, Becky, we're going to probably start negotiations tomorrow with the Democrats claiming victory or claiming the high road. I don't know what they're going to say. I can't discuss what or can't predict what they're going to say, but either way, we'll probably have the vote in the Senate either tomorrow night or Thursday. Then the House has got to come back because we're going to have to make some changes to it. We got to change the date, and there's discussions about maybe putting 3 appropriation bills on the CR2.
You think it's possible we could reopen the government this week then?
Yes, I think we'll be open by Sunday. It depends on the, remember, once we vote on it, the House has 48 hours to basically get back. Now, what I know the House GOP is having a conference call today. I will imagine on that conference call, they're going to tell their members they're going to go ahead and put their members on a 48-hour notice, tell them they need to be back here Friday. So I mean, there's going to be some discussions there too, because like I said, Becky, we're going to change the CR because we got to change the date at minimum. What we would like to do
because the date only carried through later this month.
Yeah.
So we've already...
Yeah. Right. That's just like almost a bookkeeping. The Senate does it, goes back to the House, they put that in there, and then it's done. Senator, I've often likened the Democrats to the Borg Collective from Star Trek. I mean, it's almost they vote as a monolith a lot of times, and I think the Republicans could learn something from that. You got all these wacko, making a name for themselves. Democrats really never do that, but looking for a few good men or women, and I found one, and that is John Fetterman, who I don't know how, he's not going to be allowed to stay in this party, because this is what he said. I feel like the Democrats really need to own the shutdown. I mean, we're shutting it down. We need to find a way forward. I do believe we can get these kind of tax credits, but this is the wrong tactic. It was wrong when the Republicans did it, wrong now that we're driving it. We're hurting the very people that we fight for, and we're getting nothing for them. We continue to keep the government shut down. This is wrong. And all he's doing is just saying factually, I mean, I watch Hakeem Jeffries, what he says. None of what he's saying about this is in the real world. It's at best, it's distortion and dissembling and untruths. So I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Well, Joe, if you listen to Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Senate and of the Democrat Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries, leader of the House Democrats, they both talk just out. I mean, 100% talking points that are not mistruths, they're 100% lies. What John Fetterman is doing is just telling the truth, but the guy is a very independent thinker. I mean, think about it. Look at the way he dresses. He walks to his own drum. He's unapologetic. He and I became pretty close acquaintance during our orientation. And we've kind of maintained that relationship. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we definitely have a good working relationship. And the guy just says the truth. I mean, what's on his heart, he feels it. And we all respect that. And who would have thought, as tough as that race was in Pennsylvania, that John Fetterman would be the voice of reason
but he's a grand
in the
total
Democrat
of
Party.
ones. That's
Right.
the whole point. Just by speaking what the actual truth, he's a grand total of one. I mean, you don't have to be a crazy hoodie-wearing, like, rebel. Where are the rest of them? Where's Warner? And
apparently waiting for Durbin to release them. I mean,
that's right.
Senator, that's what
Becky,
you think is actually going to happen, that after today, they'll be released and you will
Yes.
quickly see a bunch of people that flood over?
They almost left last week because they're just upset. Listen, everybody flew home this weekend and came back today. We were all avoiding connections because we couldn't go through a hub because the connections were being delayed, the flights were being delayed. And who blames TSA workers for taking personal time off so they can go earn some income? Who blames the air traffic controllers for taking some personal time off so they can go earn some income? They've been without a paycheck for a month now.
It is ridiculous.
Right.
You can't expect people to work without a paycheck and to put up with shenanigans by any stretch of this. But, man, is there going to be some soul searching after all of this? Like, how do we prevent this from happening again? This is stupid theater.
Well, we have to, yes, we've got to seriously take a look at how to prevent future shutdowns. There's got to be a trigger that takes place. I'm not for getting rid of the filibuster as a whole, but maybe there's some triggers after 10 days, Becky, that if the government is shut down for more than 10 days, that there's some small concessions that put in place to reopen the essential part of the government and get these people paid, and until Congress can work out their differences. There needs to be serious conversations moving forward, because when parties are using the American people as, quote, leverage, that's what the Democrat Party leadership has said for the last 35 days, that's a problem, because we're playing with people's lives. So this isn't a policy fight, Becky. This is a political fight that the Democrats are fighting, and we're trying to have a policy discussion. There's two totally different voices being spoke here, and there's no room to negotiate. You can't negotiate policy over politics. It doesn't work that way, and so you find yourself in the longest shutdown in history, which is where we're at today.
So 16.8% of your constituents in Oklahoma didn't receive their expected SNAP benefits on November 1st. Is that correct?
I mean, the numbers have jumped back and forth on which one is correct, but it's interesting because I spoke to Governor Stitt about this on Thursday, and he was saying, listen, the state's making some extra precautions, working with the tribes, making sure that we're having the benefits. I was talking to church leaders. One church group in Muskogee, Oklahoma, fed 120 people last night. That is unheard of. But it was interesting what the governor said. The governor said, yes, this is awful. We have some funds we're going to be using to fill the programs, but it's given us for the first time an opportunity to look underneath the hood, and we're discovering all types of fraud at the state level that we're able to cut right now because of this shutdown. So I guess there's a little bit of benefit, but it's not benefit enough to keep the government shut down and keep people's SNAP cards from being filled, because there is in between 400,000 to 600,000, depending on what numbers you look at, of Oklahoma that are dependent on either a full SNAP program or small benefit from it.
Senator, very quickly, just looking through, if you will tell us, will you give us a heads up if you start to see movement on this, if you think that, okay, we're really here? Because if you say we can reopen the government this week, that is music to just about everybody's ears. Will you keep us up to speed, keep us up to date on what's happening?
Yeah, you bet, Becky. And I'm telling you, I'm very confident we open the government back up before the week's out.
From your lips, Senator Mullen, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we're hoping for that outcome. Thank you.
Meantime, Palantir reporting third quarter results above expectations in a big way. The company issued better than expected fourth quarter guidance. Shares down in the pre-market this morning. We'll talk about that as well. But joining us right now is somebody we've been talking about, frankly, all morning. Alex Karp is with us, Palantir's CEO. Alex, it is so good to see you. this morning. We had your biographer on the broadcast before, and we're speaking about you now in third person, but now we're doing it in first person. The earnings were a blowout, I think, across the board. We can talk about maybe why the stock market reacting the way it is. But, you know, I was listening to the call yesterday, and I wanted to, just for those who didn't get an opportunity to hear it, I think you made some fascinating points about why you think this company and maybe even yourself are so misunderstood.
Well, there are lots of easy ways to misunderstand me. I misunderstand myself, and you know, it's not like the super conventional playbook thing. Look, we're an anti-playbook company. If you want to do the personal version, I'm like this dyslexic, formerly and I believe currently still left of center, who actually sticks up for progressive values, which triggers, you know, TDS loving people, because I think the Democrats aren't no longer progressive. And then the company is built in a truly sui generis, unique way, which would only be possible in America, and actually explodes every assumption of how an expert would build a software business. The more you actually know about building software, the more odd, unique, and inexplicable our rise in success, and I would say domination on the enterprise software battlefield looks and is. And then I would say one of my main issues is Palantir, because we called a lot of things that are kind of establishment views that often are viewed as kind of being super woke into question in every single assumption of Palantir. The people who piled in to Palantir were people investing their own money, often people who are not in the investor class, non-experts, and even till today, the experts sit on the sideline and say, hey, this can't be true, while the average American who invested in Palantir, and for the first time, maybe arguably since World War II, average Americans got venture returns investing in Palantir. So you have this massive divide between the average person who evaluated themselves and the expert class that still was working on assumptions that have historically not been true, that obviously, if you look at the earnings, if you actually look at, we grew the company, I mean, I'll go through if you want to go through the numbers, but extraordinary results, and then the expert class is weak-kneed, and the retail people are all in. So, but in fairness,
but that's what I wanted to ask you about. In terms of the because there is a misunderstanding. Clearly, you know, you look at the analysts. Most analysts, you know, think that this stock is overpriced. You have people like Michael Burry out there shorting it. Everybody who's shorted this stock thus far has been on the losing end of it. And I'm trying to understand, just from, if you look at sort of the growth trajectory, the sales, how much of the sales, frankly, I think actually even there was a huge part coming from even existing customers, and just what the scale of this thing ultimately looks like in your mind.
Okay, there are two parts. You know, of course, when I hear short sellers attacking what I believe is clearly the most important software company in America, and therefore in the world in terms of our impact, simply to make money, and trying to call the AI revolution into question, where we have this anomalous numbers, 114, rule of 40, et cetera. It just is super triggering, because these people, they could pick on any company in the world. They have to pick on the one that actually helps people, that actually has made money for the average person, that is actually supporting our warfighters. Why do they have to go after us? And I'll tell you what, it's crazy motivating, because I'll tell you why the short sellers are constantly getting screwed by Palantir. Because every time they short us, we just are like tripling down on getting the better numbers, and part, honestly, to make them poorer. But okay, so the question of like the actual power of the business and what is it worth? I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that is actually in the book, the biography, and that I actually think, you always have to ask, is the person persuasive or are they right? And across all sorts of movements, political, I mean, you see this on the regressive part of the Democratic Party. We're about to probably have a complete disaster. I was born in New York. But if you actually said, do these things actually work? Everyone's like, of course I'm not going to vote for that. But instead they ask, does it work in theory? The theoreticians, you have to ask, how often have you been right? And Palantir is about pragmatic decisions that create unfair advantages for America and its allies. And on that, we've been right for almost 20 years on all major decisions, and I believe we'll be right going forward. Now, you could argue, I don't know, like they're constantly like, but they thought Palantir was overvalued at 10. They thought it was overvalued at 20. I'm not even here saying what the valuation is. I'm just saying, find a company in the world that has a rule of 114, that has U.S. commercial growing at 121%, that aggregate growth in the U.S. is 77%, that has throwing off free cash flow in a way that's anomalous, and that is fully aligned with our customers. and you figure out the value. But they're in the business of being skeptical and being wrong, and we're in the business of giving an unfair advantage to American workers, American warfighters, and our investors.
Being short is a very difficult place to be because you can lose everything, right? You can drive these people into the ground.
Thank God.
Like that. Michael Burry put a really big bet on it. It's almost $1 billion. It's $912 million. That's a big step for him to put into that. When you say you redouble your efforts, what do you do? What do you go back in?
Well, first of all, it's like he's actually putting a short on AI. So the way I read it was us and NVIDIA, and it's like
yeah,
he's
the biggest position is you, though.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through all of his
great.
shorts.
Okay. So, and then, by the way, with the shorts, it's very complex. It's not even clear that, honestly, I think what is going on here is market manipulation. We delivered the best results anyone's ever seen. It's not even clear he's not doing this to get out of his position. I mean, these people, they claim to be ethical, but, like, they're actually shorting one of the great businesses of the world. And I'm not against shorting as a matter of theory, but I'm just saying pick something that is not doing a noble task, and, it's us against them, and that's a good position for us. I mean, look, when you're printing a rule of 114, again, people who aren't technical, I think roughly an incredible score, like an Olympic grade score on rule of 14 is like 50. I mean, that's roughly like if you're between 50 and 7, you're an Olympic athlete, a unique implement athlete. This is like Michael Phelps like score, like Michael Jordan. Like there are no scores like this. And 121 growth off of almost a 1.5 run rate in U.S. commercial, and a 77% growth in the U.S., and an aggregate off of an aggregate base of $4.5 billion. By the way, I predicted we'd get here. So, it's like, if you want to short that, be my guest. You go ahead. We're just going to go do our things. I mean, look, I'll tell you, there's a tale of two cities in our society. We need experts versus retail. And you see it like, I don't know why these newspapers are helping Mamdani win. I don't know why we can't have honest discussions about our future. I don't know why we have to allow fentanyl attack. But it's almost always sympathy for the expert that doesn't need it, the short seller that has some ridiculous reason for doing something against. I mean, most of GDP growth in this country is because of AI. The real question is, how do we grow that and expose workers? What is the worker available GDP? That's the question for our society. Instead of aligning on that, we've got these completely, and again, if the numbers weren't there, great, be my guest. But then the numbers are there. So then it's not even clear he's actually shorting us. It's probably just, how do I get my position out and not look like a fool? I don't know, but I do think
order
this
canceled,
behavior
order
is egregious,
submitted.
and I'm going to be dancing around when it's proven wrong.
Right. Alex, we've heard a lot of talk
from
the likes of
filled.
Michael Burry, but more broadly about whether we're in an AI bubble, whether the economics make sense. Clearly, in the context of Palantir, they do make sense insofar as you're printing money over there. Not everybody in the AI space is printing money in the same way, and they're spending an enormous amount on chips, data centers, and the like. How do you see the broader space right now in terms of just how things are developing?
There are two subtle issues in AI. What is the addressable market, and what is the addressable market for things that work? Meaning you make more money and the quality of the money is higher. So top line and bottom line grow. Palantir, we're in the business of a part of the addressable market where it works and it can be quantifiable, either commercially or on the battlefield. So clearly, and over time, you're going to have Pareto optimality, meaning that every part of the stack is going to have to create more value than they charge. That's just obvious. And if that doesn't happen, it will be a bubble. And, I mean, I'm sorry, short sellers can't tell the difference between products that work and products that don't, but these numbers should show you that there's a part of the market that, to quote you, is printing cash, and it looks like that part of the market is the part we own. There's a separate question, by the way, which I think is equally relevant. What part of the GDP growth is available for workers? What we call worker available GDP. And that's like one of the unique things about Palantir is whether it's on the battlefield, like the people writing the scripts for these very complicated operations, or building batteries or doing things on the factory floor are being enhanced by our product. And those two questions are going to define arguably the future of what happens in this country. Does GDP grow because of AI, which only can happen if there's Pareto optimality, or in the way we see it, the customer pays less than the value they create, which is abnormal, not exactly equal Pareto optimality. And that, it's unknown, honestly. You have this massive growth, but currently, as far as I can tell, the two companies he's shorting are the ones making all the money, which is super weird. Like the idea that chips and ontology is what you want to short is batshit crazy. But leaving that aside, there's a bigger question, which is the average American believes AI is happening. They're just not sure if it's going to happen for them or it's just me getting rich. And that's the battle we have to fight, because if you want a sane society, you can't just have GDP growth for us and no GDP growth for them. So like finding out what is available for the worker and proving it's available for the worker is going to be absolutely crucial. By the way, to be slightly political, you can't, if the AI revolution is real, it has downstream consequences. Like, how can you have an AI revolution and an open border?
Are we safer as a society or less safe than we were 5 years ago because of AI?
And I wanted to ask you, I talked to Lonsdale about, unfortunately, packed stadiums and drone attacks and things like that. And he said that's something that we need to, at some point, face.
Well, you know, there's a lot of complicated questions because there's like, I mean, it's so funny because, you know, like, I mean, in this book, which is, there's like a lot of it's true, but then it's like the surveillance state. So like, interestingly, I and Palantir have historically been on maximal safety and maximal data protection, and the product is actually built despite, you know, if you're being told Palantir is easy, is the product you use to surveil you, you're the mark. Like, you know, we actually, so how do you have maximum safety where you can still have a personal life? You know, and so like personal life may mean you're just flirting with the person next to you. It may mean you're at the stadium with someone you shouldn't be. It may mean you're just there alone when you should be at work. We all have things we need and want to do in our private lives, and part of democracy is we get to keep that. And Palantir's architecture makes it possible to have heightened safety and reduced surveillance. Now, you have this issue across Are Americans Safer? You know, a lot of it comes down to, are we going to have a mandate that actually helps working women and men? Because the truth in our society is you're pretty safe if you have money. What happens to you if you're in an environment where you're poor or working class, black, white, Hispanic, anything, is you are then in an environment where people are espousing they believe in what they're saying, while in facto letting you live in a war zone. Whether it's the inner cities or the border, we essentially have a class divide in this society where underclass people, white, black, Hispanic, everyone, they absorb all the negative externalities of policies, and those of us who can afford to sit here have a great life. And the real question for our society, in my view, and for AI is, how can we make sure people participate in GDP, which also means they can go home safely, they can go to school, they can come back from school, they can go to the border and not get shot. We don't have fentanyl coming in our society. And, you know, more people have died from fentanyl in the last year than all service members since World War II. And almost all those people are working class. And that's why no one cares. If they were Yale grads, you'd have a bomb being dropped on some South American country, it would stop. And we have, so there's a huge societal thing. Then you get to like, you know, mass events, and we've seen very destructive to our core assassinations of people who had heroic roles. We saw Abe in Japan, that was outside of America. We saw Charlie Kirk. We've seen the CEO of United. We saw people cheering these things. So in my view, there is the stadium issues, and these are very hard issues. How do you actually protect against drone? There are technologies which are not publicly available that need to be made available that can help. But there's always a risk of something happening, because the only way to take the risk to zero is to eviscerate all our civil liberties. So that's why I'd say, you know, if you actually look at, it's like gun deaths. Guns are not a problem in society. Guns in the inner city create most of the deaths. So how do you protect the Second Amendment and change gun deaths in this country? I mean, of course, there are other gun deaths that happen, but statistically, and these are, what we should do with technology is make sure the people who are living the worst lives live lives closer to ours and make sure our lives advance as well, but never with the idea that we're going to reduce crime to zero, because the only way to do that is to reduce deviant behavior to zero. And none of us want that, because I'm not the only one who's a freak show. I'm just more open about it. And you know, every single person who's like, oh, and I'll tell you something else before I get to you. There's a big lesson in probably the Mondani disaster, the short seller, the fentanyl thing. If you think you can sit on the sidelines here, like in our generation, we thought we could outsource, or like anti-Jewish bias, like you cannot outsource it to the experts. If you think the experts are going to stop anti-Jewish bias or the fentanyl or whatever. No, they're not. They're lame. They're scared. They're gonna listen to the short seller instead of reading the numbers. Like, this is a really big lesson. Listen to the short seller. Look at our numbers. In all these things, every single person that cares is going to have to stand up and say, you know what? I mean, it's crazy that we all have to be advocates for ourselves, but the experts are not showing up. They're scared. They're drinking. Huh?
You're mad.
Well, you should be mad. Like, it's like, I mean, it's just like, and then, but of course, the positive side is we have these problems no other society has. Like, I spent half my life in Europe. Europe has no AI scene. The GDP growth that, you know, is being besmirched by this wonderful, seemingly numerically illiterate short seller is a bounty of riches. Like Germany would cut off its proverbial beer garden to get this problem. And so, but we should not screw it up. And the way we screw it up is we are all on the sidelines. We let experts tell us what we should think, and we get screwed.
Alex, it's a longer conversation. I know we're going to have another one, I'm sure, very soon. I want to thank you so very much for jumping in impromptu this morning after was a great earnings report. So congratulations on that.
And congratulations on your book. Everywhere I go,
We're about to start. Hold on, guys.
Behind them, I mean, everyone has it in their hand. Congratulations.
Thank you very, very much.
Dang, that's a lot.
I really appreciate it. Let's take a quick final look at the markets just for
Yeah, I'm
one
gonna
moment
put
here.
your name on there too.
We do have some red
Maybe
arrows
get lucky.
across the board here. Dow off about 253 points. NASDAQ down about 380 points. S&P 500 off about 70 points. That does it for us. We will see you tomorrow. Squawk on the Street is up next.
Yeah, I'm doing it early today. I'm just tired. Sorry.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to Squawk on the Street. I'm Carl Quintanilla with Jim Cramer and David Faber at Post 9 of the New York Stock Exchange. Stocks are on pace for about 1% declines.
Got it. Okay.
Arguably a little more mixed today. High valuations in focus. Palantir is set to open down almost 8% on results. 10-year 409. Our roadmap begins with this AI trade and some fears about valuations. Palantir sinking despite the earnings beat and the raised outlook.
Plus, one of Tesla's top 10 shareholders plans to vote against Elon Musk's trillion-dollar pay package at the
How much
company's
after
annual
that?
meeting on Thursday. And the
You have to unlink. Good luck, guys. You good. Alright, guys. So my funny futures, I can give out 4 new 50K this month. So once a week. Adding more to my freebies. MFU.
Order filled. Order submitted.
Yeah. You had all day to pay that. Oh yeah, you can do that later. Alright, 20 seconds. My Funded Futures, the giveaway won't be the 3K, it'll be the 1K only. I think. Oh, Kai, you won! Congrats, I hope you have money to pay for the activation fee. I know you got 5 points. I saw you earlier, so you're good.
It's going to settle in, and they are doing amazing things. And the companies that I dealt with when I was so concerned about them, that hire them,
Yeah, I'll DM you the code.
that doesn't think that they haven't added tremendous
I'll be
value
back.
to them. So David, I'm stuck with yes, a market cap. I'm stuck with how to value on 2027
Order
sales,
filled.
but I am not stuck with this. They are a great company that does great things, both commercial and military, and I salute them. But saluting them doesn't make you money today.
No, it doesn't. I always find it odd when, the success that they've had and the way that the stock trades and the multiples it is accorded in the market, and you have a CEO who's screaming about short sellers, I find a little odd. Not complete, somewhat reminiscent of Sam Altman going off the other day. Doesn't even have a public stock, but responding to Brad Gerstner's question about a simple question in the way that he did. But Jim, you're right. Listen, any number of the analysts who follow this company, and even ones who have holds on the stock, say these were the best numbers we've seen, the most impressive in our many years of covering the software industry. That's Deutsche Bank. At Morgan Stanley, they obviously, as many are doing, they point the spotlight on the commercial growth, which year over year improved to 121%.
Order submitted.
Versus 93% for the second quarter. So growth accelerating in their commercial business. You discussed the military side as well. There is no doubt that Karp is right when he says a lot of the things he does. I'm just curious as to why he would even bother caring about short sellers.
Well, I think he doesn't need to. I think obviously there are things said about him and the company that are, I would say, that he takes the overvalued complaint personally. And I think instead it's one of these things where you have to be a little bit more like Henry Ford, which is, you say, never complain, never explain. That has a little more gravitas at this point, but they've been at it for 20 years, and there have been people who've attacked them the whole way.
And by the way, though, Jim, let's just go back to the days, a long time ago now, that you were a hedge fund manager. Would you ever be stupid enough to try to short Palantir?
No,
that was a leading question.
No,
but
I would know better, and I will tell you that there are a number of
crushed like that.
Okay, I do not speak to hedge funds. Okay, I just don't. Anyone who's seen my phone logs would be able to tell you that. There have been so many hedge funds that have reached out to me to say, listen, you got to change your view on Palantir. This is a screaming short. And the usual, you don't know what you're talking about, which I reserve to my father being able to say. My father passed away many years. You don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I've studied this Palantir a lot. The fact is that it's an expensive stock, but it may be the best run company in the world. And so you have to struggle. It's interesting, this fellow Burry, whom I don't know, he's shorting NVIDIA too. Now that's another one.
He's got puts on.
Yeah, $5 trillion company. Well, is it worth $5 trillion? It's the best tech company I've ever seen. And I don't know how to value it other than to say that when I look in past, I see it was selling at 28 times earnings when it looked like it was selling at 80 times earnings. But I am not, do I think that Alex Karp should, I don't know, I personally have not, am I trying to develop a relationship with Alex? I have a relationship with my wife, with you guys. I kind of have a lot of relationships. I may have too many relationships. But I happen to think that the guys who did the defense here are my idols for what they're trying to do. Because they are trying to make it so that we're more lethal with fewer deaths. And that is what my father, who was a sergeant in the Army for a long time, said. If we only had guys who felt like them.
Even Karp, though, did talk about international military being a little stagnant.
No,
especially
international's not been that strong.
Where they have Europe, they have an important business, and it's not right. Not growing.
I did look. What would I have wanted to see if I were a long, hoping that today would go up? I would love to see that they just got a gigantic contract that we don't know about, and they announced it. But it's entirely possible that they are. That they couldn't announce it. I guess what I'm saying is I am not backing away from my thinking that this is a great company and there's room for it. In how to make money in any market, I say, look, had people shorted this, the GameStop, they'd still be covering and it would still go higher. GameStop is a no-growth company. That was the wrong one for the longs. This is the right one.
Does the valuation discussion get any thicker when you throw in, say, what Meta's done over the last couple of weeks?
Well, look, I think Meta played the game. I think that Meta said, look, we're going to spend as much money as necessary to keep Sam Altman out. They didn't add to keep Sam Altman out. And if Sam Altman decides to go after a bunch of other verticals, then they can cut back their spend. But you don't want that social monopoly. But when you see some of the stuff that OpenAI is backing, that is a direct threat to his world. So Zuckerberg's right to spend as much as he can. Now, I think the one that it's very funny because Amazon is the one that I didn't think was spending all that. And then yesterday I found out I didn't know they had so much.
Yeah.
Did you know they had so much NVIDIA?
Who?
Amazon. I didn't know they had so much
Oh,
NVIDIA.
you mean the chips, the GPUs? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know they had that much.
And Mike Santoli also points out, the short interest is 2.3% of the float. That's average.
It's nothing.
It's not one day.
The bot's still short. It hasn't long yet. Looks like it's gonna drop.
Carp's ranting about short sellers. I mean, give me a break,
In
man.
other words, but let me say, that to you says immaturity? Does it say, listen, that's a misdirection play?
I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to rile up his retail
Look,
base.
if I were up there, I would have said, what would I have said? Well, first of all, he might say, Jim, what do you know? You should
just posted some of the most incredible numbers.
Yeah, bot short 26,092 last night, so 300-400 points now.
These are the best numbers anyone's ever seen.
Are the numbers?
Right. Well, that's Frank Slootman.
Yes.
You know, it was a stock that went up 100 straight points because he said the numbers are the numbers and the guidance is the guidance. But take that.
Jim, Morgan Stanley again. Price target of 205 is based on 60 times calendar year 30 free cash flow. Well, you know, it does make it difficult for a company like that to, if they miss in any way, that there could be downside to the other side here, right?
Well, but he does say something very important about the individual investor.
Because Medicare, Medicaid, they always pay.
I say it on from my book, which is that if you can find companies that you like with a fiery messianic CEO, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I know. But we had that once in Chipotle, wouldn't you say?
Well, Chipotle, they stopped executing well.
I guess that's that can be a universal quality.
They stopped executing well, and this execution this quarter was amazing. I wish they had spent a little more time talking about, instead of saying, listen, we are the warfighter company, which they are.
I'll tell you later. I don't want to tell you anything yet.
But they could say, look, Jim, that's not our job. We don't have to say that. But if you're going to take that cause on, you can mention it. But remember,
he might get mad.
Alex Karp. I'm just augmented. I'm not. I can't criticize a guy. He's created
I'll tell you
a
later.
huge amount of wealth, and I'm in favor of that wealth creation. I am.
Well, he's done that for sure. And I think he
Okay, yeah, you're right. So, you know how I'm a bulenox? I was bulenox, whatever. I was like, oh, I'm on the mic.
All sorts of different stratas of society. I mean, you heard some of those comments.
Is he all like Musk when Musk initially was much more feisty in the conference calls? It's not too bad to be compared to Musk, by the way, when it comes to wealth creation.
I'm considering your question. Yeah, I mean, there's some similarities. I think he may be a little more. Musk at this point doesn't offer, well, maybe, I haven't seen him lately. He's on various podcasts. I haven't watched him in a while, so I'll reserve comment.
Well, but this might be look, just watch what I do. Could he have said that?
I have not heard Karp say that Britain's due for civil war the way Musk has in recent days.
No. Look, I think that Palantir, that Alex didn't really speak much about actual any ethos. He just said, listen, we're pro-war fighter, and he talks about some of his causes, but they weren't involved in the quarter. They weren't involved.
Guys,
you have something?
Yeah, we had Pfizer earnings, which I was going to get to, but if you guys remember this Metsera, very interesting story from last week. Obviously, we've had so much news.
The rival bid?
The rival bid from Novo, which Pfizer was suing about. In fact, there's a hearing today at 11 o'clock. They're seeking a temporary restraining order against Novo's ability to sign that deal with Metsera. But ahead of that, we've got more bidding for this company, and I wanted to share that this morning because Novo Nordisk has now raised its bid to $86.20 a share. That's about $10 billion. Where Pfizer revised its bid to $70. Really, now we're talking here about both what they're paying in cash and then the so-called contingent value,
Back
right?
on
So I believe
YouTube.
Pfizer was
15 minutes.
$60 and $10 for the CVR. Then Novo
So I
came
definitely
back and
need an
raised again,
Apex payout.
and now they're still in the pole position, so to speak.
I don't think it'll be
in terms of
today. Those
having
guys
a
are slow.
superior company
Oh, Sean is slow.
proposal. It's structured in two steps. Again, this
Yeah.
is what was so interesting about last week's news around this in terms of immediately sign the agreement. Now you get $60.
But I do want to buy the top step though, the 150K, since it's 40% off.
And they get for that a non-voting preferred Then they do all the antitrust, and then they buy the rest of the company when they get approval to do that, and you also get a CVR worth $22.50. That amounts to, as they just said, $86.20. That's up from their previous deal to acquire the company. And
Wait,
this
Trump's on today?
a lot of
I don't think so.
overall in this company and GLP-1s and the drugs that it has, and,
Yeah,
and
then
how it's
just
going to fill
the
in.
chat was saying Trump.
Maybe some part of the portfolio at Nova, one of the leaders there, and certainly constitute a very significant new front for Pfizer.
Should I just take profit on my AMD puts at open and not YOLO it for earnings?
By the way, though,
I
how's the judge
should.
going to view a TRO when you just everybody raised their bids? That kind of defeats, to a certain extent.
I'll sell half.
You're saying it's not fair, but you're still going up a lot, and then you're still getting
Yeah.
bid by Novo.
Yes,
but this
depends.
just
See how
out, I
much
wanna
is up.
share that again.
IV should go up.
Will we
So,
be
yeah.
trading up as that goes on?
Right, because it just shows how
And then be a free play, yeah.
It really does.
That's a good
David
point.
Rich, by the way, hasn't had to say anything. Not
Yeah.
about the shorts, not about it.
No, why would you?
That's
right?
what I'm gonna do.
It's a facetious comment.
But he watches this battle go on. So now we're exceeding $10 billion in value for this company, which, again, to go back, Pfizer had a deal to acquire them. Novo came in last week with this novel approach that says, shareholders, you get our money right away, basically, the minute they sign. Not when it's approved, not when it closes, when they sign. And then a CVR as well. So that's where we stand. The 11 o'clock hearing, I believe, is still in place for the TRO. Pfizer did have until the end of business today, Carl, to raise their bid to try to exceed Novo's. They did it, but then Novo came right back already, and here we are.
Space and Pfizer beat the numbers, and people just yawn. I mean,
Oh, yeah. And then we had Pfizer earnings. Yeah.
Oh my God, the group is so challenged.
Paxlovid was a miss, but Eliquis beat. They guide above on full year EPS. Reiterate revenue.
But we're looking for that big win from CGen.
Oh wow,
We
gold
never
is
got
dumping
it.
too.
It's a bond. Pfizer's a bond.
Mhm.
And that's
Pfizer's a bond.
Yeah.
Pfizer's a bond.
Weird.
Just 'cause it's a
Man,
design
it's just a
that's
month I want to be a bull and I'll get wrecked.
I'd rather have my stock. Shakespearean.
Thank you for that. No, actually, Shakespeare figured into this yesterday as well when
You said that?
when Pfizer said
My
something
memory's
clearly
poop.
rotten in the state of Denmark.
Oh,
yeah. Saying that effectively Novo is bribing Metsera, its board of directors, and its controlling stockholders to allow them to control its fate and forestall Metsera's game-changing products from coming to market as soon as for as long as possible. They say Novo wants to own this company just to keep its products from challenging.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to mute.
Take a look at the pre-market. We're looking at a little weakness at the open. We will get to a bunch of names: Spotify, Uber, Marriott, NCLH, Starbucks. We'll talk to Harley Finkelstein about Shop when we're back in a minute.
Ooh, are they cutting back jobs? Because the news was talking about AI cutting back Target, a whole bunch of companies getting laid off because of AI.
Life is always changing, and
Oh,
Love
damn.
Stack Couch
Okay.
adapts to it all. Gathering around for game day one moment, reconfiguring for entertaining the next. And tomorrow, a new
Sooner or
rhythm
later,
entirely,
they only gonna need
because
one
Love Stack
nurse,
adapts
and
to
then the
life.
rest AI does all the work and use one nurse's license.
At BlackRock, our mission is simple: to fuel people forward, one
Yeah.
connection, one moment, and one cup at a time. To the millions of guests who have supported us over the past 17 years,
It looks like it's gonna pump at open.
your loyalty and connection have
Yeah.
shaped
What's up,
who we are
Gambit?
today. That
I'm on
personal
Discord
touch is
too.
at the heart of everything we do.
Yo, Gambit, I want that money. Can you send me the money? I gotta take somebody out to eat with that money next Tuesday, so can you send me the money?
Begins and ends with you.
I can't tell you.
We believe
Just send me the money.
the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life we
Yeah,
want to build.
with my nephew.
And our
Yes,
experienced
next
advisors
Tuesday.
design custom-built strategies to help you get there.
Yeah,
It's
I'm just
time
joking.
for
I
a
want
wealth
your money.
management experience as sophisticated as you are.
Magic Mountains or Mountain Mikes or whatever that better pizza place. CC's like low end.
Look at overall corporate earnings.
I'm
they
bougie
continue to
now.
be very strong, but we've seen probably more layoffs
Yeah.
in this this round of corporate earnings
No.
that we've seen in a long period of time.
They should though. I didn't hit 30% or anything, so if they deny that, I'm gonna be pissed as hell.
In terms of the length of time that GPUs last, what we can say is there's a lot of risk.
Yeah. Are you at the buffer in 150K? You should be, right?
Is really smart, creative people.
Okay. Yeah. Did they approve your 75K yet? The payout? Like you should have told me. I was talking to him this morning. I forgot about you.
Now is the best time to enjoy
It's okay, you can wait. Yeah, I don't want to keep bugging him for you, so it's okay. You can wait.
Exclusively at your DFW Genesis retailers.
It's a baby bear.
Company because you love
You see that dump?
Not spreadsheets. You need to hire. I need Indeed.
I try to catch a knife and it stabbed me in the heart.
Sponsor a job on Indeed. Candidates can find it easier, so you
I'm about to blow the Fundingticks.
Indeed.com/hire.
Yeah, it's just one account. It's okay. I don't copy trade, so that helps. Yes.
Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah, and I don't really know why it flushed that much open.
Keeping track of some of the names that are set to open lower today. S&P laggard Zoetis. We'll talk
Yeah.
about the cruise lines as Norwegian
Correction would be wanted, but it needs more. You know what I mean? Like maybe 5 or 10
Talk
more.
about all that and more when we come right back.
When logic bends, when certainty
Boo boo.
left is right and
Hey boo boo.
which way do you turn? Go beyond the headlines. A trusted global
My view on NQ, I think we might get a pump at open. Love Nature Guy 007.
That a very popular, well-loved .com stock.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. I was gonna message you and say, hey, get onto the raffle, but it was too early. It was like 7 o'clock. So I don't wanna be waking people up anymore.
And I expect this time around will be no different. Because today, I'm pounding the table with the opposite message. Buy this stock now. The very same company
Yeah,
that I
most
warned
people are
you
like
about
that, right?
2
So
decades
I thought
ago
everybody
is
had their
now
phone do not
just
disturb
love
when they
AI
sleep, and I messaged somebody this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. They woke up. I say, oops.
While the media gloms onto the AI chip
My
war,
bad.
they've completely missed this company's essential role in
Yeah.
building out data centers. Their hardware is so critical that the data center industry uses enough of it to stretch around the world 8 times in a single building. My name is Eric Fry, and as a stock analyst, author, and futurist, I've been issuing sell this, buy that recommendations for 30 years. In fact, knowing what to buy and what to sell at the same time is what earned me the title of America's top trader in a head-to-head competition against Wall Street's most well-known investing legends. It's also how I've notched more than 40 stock recommendations and counting that have gone on to soar
What
1,000%.
news?
So if you own NVIDIA, you might be well served to sell those shares and watch my presentation to get the details on this under-the-radar play instead. Or if you missed the boat on NVIDIA, this is a rare second chance to target tremendous profit potential as AI data centers
Nice.
spring up in every corner of the world. Get my full take on this exciting play by visiting the website on your screen. Or simply
Did you
open
follow
up
the
your
bot
phone,
with your Legends?
QR code you see on your
The
screen
Legends
right
account? Ah.
when you do, I've also got 7 more free buy and sell recommendations, including names, tickers, and analysis waiting for you at no cost.
Nice. As long as you're green, that's good.
When was the last time you made a return like this? Options often offer higher returns than stocks, cost less, and can reduce risk. Learn how in our new book. Get your free copy at It's Not an Option.
Oh yeah, I blew that TPT 75K. Forgot about that. Oh my god.
With CNBC Pro's best deal of the year.
That's 3 o'clock in the morning.
From Wall Street pros like Josh Brown.
You're gonna love the best stocks in the market list.
Yeah. I don't know what I was doing. I was up.
Restrictions apply.
No, I didn't sleep, but I think I was like 16. No, I was 1,000 from passing. I give up. Yeah, it sucks.
Something that I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I'm gonna cancel that actually. I don't want to renew that because that's renewing in a couple of days.
Enough with Pizza Hut. It's just too hard a category, too
No
difficult
comment.
to turn. Let's have some sort of, let's explore. They're going to, basically, they're off.
Yeah, no comment.
In the meantime, Taco Bell continues
I was
to
1,000 away from the buffer too. It's like, yeah.
KFC.
I did
3%,
bad
but
today.
when
It's
you're
not blown,
with
but it's
away
bad.
from Pizza Hut is actually a very good asset-light company. Where Taco Bell is
102.
social media advertising.
102.11 was what I had last night on it, so I just need 1,000, but fucked up early morning.
My hat's off to Pizza Hut. I'm sorry, to Domino's for being.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch a knife. Told you
So
that.
Pizza Hut couldn't be part of a major company without hurting the numbers.
It's
How
okay.
about that? And Papa John's, are they going to do a takeover? We don't know. We get a bit.
I didn't
It's a
sleep.
really tough
No, I didn't
category,
sleep.
but Russell Weiner at Domino's has done a very good job. And that's the one you
No, I
wanna
didn't sleep
own.
at
But
all.
this now has
I
with
took some
Taco Bell
pills and
being
I couldn't
a great
sleep,
company,
so that's
KFC.
why.
Not bad.
Okay.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's it.
I got nothing.
No, it's not Viagra. See, I was no.
I mean,
you take your carp out of your head.
he says his carp's in your head.
Yeah,
It's not in my head. A lot of retail investors own.
It's gonna be a hard day today, though.
Palantir, and I stand for the retail investors matter.
I hate when pre-market is down almost 2% earlier.
With Palantir and with Robinhood and with
Well, they can take a breather. Take a breather. Yeah. Doesn't matter with a breather. We have to go.
We gotta go. Gotta go.
Pizza Hut.
We have a
Yeah,
podcast
that's the
you
thing.
can watch, or actually you can listen.
I know people buying the dip and
You have
getting
outtakes
wrecked
on
too.
that? What is that?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Wait till like 30 or 15 minutes after the open.
2026 list, spotlighting women who innovate, lead boldly, and are transforming business. Do you know someone who is rewriting the future? Nominate
Well,
them now at CNBC.
Yeah, you guys don't have their like saving over there. Pretty good doing Asia.
Here for when you wanted to make some healthy choices.
Shut up, boo
But
boo.
didn't realize how many choices there were.
Oh, not you, Gambit. I'm not talking to you. Who the hell is Boo Boo? It's someone on YouTube.
I can't wait to see their faces when we go out.
Hope my wife don't see that.
What seems to be the problem, soldier?
The belly, sir. It's full of Greeks.
Sneaky cowards.
Innovation changes everything.
Yeah, but I'm not supposed to post any pictures of myself.
You can access the NASDAQ 100 innovators who are rethinking the world. Before investing, carefully read and consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, expenses, and more in prospectus at invesco.com.
Only the ServiceNow platform connects every corner.
I hope we go green at open. It's huge pump, 200 points. But go long.
More like autonomous minions that you control.
No. I want to go long, but I'm waiting on a bot because.
Proactively.
Yep.
I'm loving my agents. Wait, do you all have agents?
Oh yeah, and on the ServiceNow platform, everyone's agents work together, so everything works better.
Could I have agents?
Maybe.
Nuveen invests
2 minute boys.
vision to anticipate the needs of future generations, to build strong portfolios that deliver lasting legacies, to innovate and adapt for what's just around the corner. Because after 125 years of yesterdays, Nuveen knows your
I'm
ultimate
gonna sell my puts
stakeholder
too. Do you get A&D puts like I told you to, Gambit?
Nuveen, invest like the future is watching.
The opening bell is brought to you by.
I'm just selling half because it's down 4%,
Invest like
almost
the
4%.
future is watching.
Good morning.
I have to deal with the world I got.
Yeah.
You know, not the world I want.
Fuck them Bears.
If he becomes mayor, so be it. You know, what does he really think? You know, he was part of
Shut up, man.
Democratic thing, which literally is more Marxist than socialist if you read it. But I don't know what he believes of that, so I don't want to assign all that to him. he's talking to a lot of people. He's convinced a lot of people. He's going to change.
No, I
don't know if that's right.
blew my account. I need back home.
They're not going to
Took an
change,
L.
and the rest of that's just
Yeah.
typical deception.
TPT 75K eval.
That's JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon talking
Yeah,
about
you see,
Sarah
yeah.
last month at a
And
Fortune
my,
magazine event.
I'm on day
Selection
10 of
day
my
in the race for New York City
Tick-Tick.
mayor polls continue to show the
I'm down
Democratic
2 grand.
Socialist leading both Andrew Cuomo running as an independent.
Well, no payout again. Let's straight to Funded Plus. About that, yeah, I needed $60 on that one. I'm down with 1,000 on that now. I took a lot of L's this morning.
Not positively received in New Jersey, but that's a very tight race. I don't know, but here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that literally after Election Day, maybe somebody wins so big, one party and not the other, that we get an end to this shutdown, which is really starting to hurt people's lives. And we kind of
I'll kick her out of the house.
our eyes glaze over. There's 900,000 people are not being paid. And I don't know what they're doing in Denver.
Yeah, we're going into day 35, tying it for the longest ever.
I gotta go sell my puts, collect my money. Gambit, you owe me $200.
Yesterday, started to complain, said,
Alright, thank you, baby.
Oh no, this is beginning to hurt all the consumer stocks. Now you can say, listen, the consumer stocks were headed down.
Oh, you're gonna get Tesla calls, huh?
Stocks that have suddenly been into bear market territory.
Yes, we do.
They're really pretty ugly.
As we take
That is, man. Today's gonna be hard. 5 seconds.
Lower numbers. All I'll say about
Tell you to wait.
Diamond is I walked by that JP Morgan Tower
Yeah.
yesterday. It is transcendent. It is so beautiful.
Hey, I'm up 80%. Hell yeah. I'll just sell one.
New York City. I would want to work in that building, even if we had a socialist mayor.
No, I'm still have. I want to play ER earnings, man.
I would point out that the banks
No, it's not.
are at 15 times earnings. Now I know that there are a lot of people who say it's over.
You know, you're right. I should take this. Yeah, I'm gonna take. Yeah, you're right. I'm just gonna sell it all. Take all my money. It will Wednesday. No, let's say Tuesday night. So tonight.
In the next hour at the Nasdaq, it's Northern Trust celebrating the launch of its tax-exempt bond ETFs.
Yeah.
Jim, we will, for the moment, surrender 6,800.
It's funny, when I saw the futures were down, I got up early and I looked at the futures and I said, okay, now we have to find enough stocks that will be down in keeping the futures, because what happens otherwise is the futures.
You got it. Don't be like me.
I really want to do my job well, and that's hard for me. The futures, what happens is that they...
I might go back to 25K. That's the only thing I'm good at. This big one's hard.
We need more wing stops. We need fewer
Yeah.
Spotifys, and we need fewer yums. And I think that in the end, the futures should not be do not control this market. But David, there's a lot of people who say we were due. Where were they 2 days ago when they didn't think we were due?
I don't know where they were. I don't know. Maybe they were using their flying car.
Maybe they were at Alpha. I don't know. But I'm thrilled. I want everyone to go public. You can go public. I took a company public. It was great. But I also did not try to make it so that I have even less hearing than I have right now.
Well, you and David just covered Pizza Hut at the board. You could tie in there, take private at Denny's. We heard about Starbucks China yesterday.
I gotta tell you, I was surprised that I want to know whether Jensen Huang wants to get
I
in there and buy
don't
Denny's
know what it's
instead.
gonna go. It looks like it wants to die.
That was Jensen's formative days.
Yes, cleaned a lot of toilets, as he once said.
Did. He and I were both busboys, and one point he was.
I have a long at 670.
That's really beneath you. I've washed a lot of dishes in my time.
Speaking of Jensen, the Journal does take a look at how his lobbying for the China sales ran into a brick wall when it came to the Secretary of State and some others.
I think that there was this unfortunate dichotomy
Maybe
between
shouldn't
the
long.
best or the worst. There were plenty of chips that I think would have made it so the Chinese were still on the hook to us.
That
But I
drop.
know it became globalists versus non-globalists. And Jensen's really
Wow.
perceived as being the ultimate globalist in Washington. I think his view was, if you write...
Dude, look at AMD. It's almost negative 5%. Wow.
We'll be more powerful.
What is going
and
on?
We're never going to use this for defense anyway. But I think
That's
both
what
sides
he's
have
dumping
decent
too.
arguments. I came down with Jensen because I thought he was more persuasive. The other guys, I just think, are just saying, listen, they're not going to get it, so we'll keep it from
is
them.
interesting that he is more open to selling to China, even though he himself is Taiwanese, which we all agree is facing potential existential threats.
I know that when you speak with the Peter Navarro, continuing to be rather quiet in the White House, you would say that, listen, that he's the foremost globalist of our time, and I would say no. If you listen to him, what he's saying is, if you want to know what the Chinese are up to, have them right on our hardware. And I thought that made sense. Hey, I've got a stock that's up.
Order filled. I guess I'm wrong.
David, when sometimes stocks are so down so low, they look up to me, and that's
Order submitted.
Clorox. God, I can't remember the last time you mentioned that name.
Had a horrendous quarter.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. They had this ERP that just obliterated
Like
their
a low
earnings.
day
And the
again.
stock's up too because it was just down so much. Enough is enough. And by the way, David, I'm going to go one step further. I think that Michael Hsu, Kimberly Clark is down so enough is enough.
Actually, I wanted to go to Kimberly Clark.
Did you?
Yeah, because you
Order
had him on as a
canceled.
guest last night.
Yes, I did.
I did not watch. I heard
Yeah,
very
see,
positive
that's a good
reviews
one.
of the interview, Jim.
See?
That you
Order
asked
submitted.
salient questions.
I couldn't hear that. Over the crowd, I couldn't hear that.
That you asked salient questions, that you really knew what was going on. So well done.
Next, you're going to say you're going to choose me to do your homework.
No, I'm telling you a nice thing.
I know, I appreciate it. I like
and you
that.
can see, that said, you interviewed him after the stock went down
Lower
15%
day 44.
yesterday, in part on...
Order submitted.
On, concern about the liability from Tylenol, which, as I pointed out yesterday, is carved out from the material adverse change clause in the merger agreement. I'm curious as to what stood out to you, and we obviously do have some sound from it.
I think that Kimberly Clark is a very well-run company when it comes to the two most important channels in the world, the club channel and the e-commerce channel. Kenvue was probably the worst when it came to those two. It had no strategy whatsoever. I think that Michael Hsu recognizes that the case law is really on the side of Tylenol, and he's willing to have it litigated.
What
And
a
he
book
also
map say,
recognized, by
Gambit.
the way, that J&J, when they decided to take on every single one of the plaintiffs when it came to talc, stock went from 150 to 190.
That's a negative 4% now.
On Mad Money last night.
We're really excited today. This may be the
Order
second
filled.
most important day in our company's history. Of course, Founders Day is the most important. But this is really about two great, iconic American companies joining forces
Order submitted.
to create what we think is the preeminent global health and wellness leader.
Order
that's really
canceled.
what we're trying to build.
There it is.
You're dealing with a company, David, that is now going to be bigger.
Order submitted.
Did you do market sell or maybe commission maybe?
Yesterday, and obviously the
Order
holy
filled.
grail is you get a multiple at some point approaching that.
Yeah, it is. What firm is it?
Rewarding your shareholders, at least.
Order
it
filled.
seems to be perhaps finding
Order
a
submitted.
That shouldn't be that high.
Doing a really good job in it. This is an example again of the people say the market's really expensive. Kimberly Clark is a premier company with a great brand. It's 14 times earnings.
Yeah.
Look, what's
That's
expensive
weird.
in the market? Even like the SanDisk and the Western Digitals and the Micron, they're not expensive. The numbers come through. Right. What's expensive tends to be enterprise.
I caught the long gambit, did you?
That's still expensive, and it's always been expensive. This stock is very cheap.
That's a good long too.
Another stock that we haven't mentioned this morning is Tesla, guys, and it is down 4%. It's been having a nice rally of late. I'm sure our viewers are well aware. Up about 11% now for the year, dipping just below the $1.5 trillion market cap level. Norges Bank, which is the
Crazy
sovereign
movement,
fund
though.
of Norway. I mean, if you do it on a per capita basis, the amount of assets they have in that fund versus the number of people in Norway, I think they can basically live on for generations without ever working. But they are voting against what could be as much as $1 trillion pay package for Mr. Musk that all shareholders will be weighing in on, or those who choose to, and we'll find out the results of this vote at the annual meeting on Thursday. Remember, it is only if Tesla were to get to an $8.5 trillion market value that Mr. Musk would then realize the full amount of that pay package, which would also take him to roughly 25% of the shares outstanding. And that's something he has said numerous times he wants. He doesn't feel like he has enough control at roughly a 12%
It wants to die
right
more,
now.
but
He is able to
someone's
vote
buying
those
it up.
shares, I believe, in favor of his own pay package. So that's going to be helpful. We'll see how this all all works out. We'll know the numbers on Thursday. Robin Denholm, the chairman, has, of course, been advocating very aggressively in favor. She was a guest on Squawk Box last week.
Meantime, China made EVs down 10.
Oh wow, gold took a dump. Holy shit. Just saw that.
We continue to see these crazy percentage losses in Europe.
Incredible. By the way, I wonder whether the American automakers are thinking that we are now at a permanent ceiling without any sort of subsidy.
Without any subsidies. It's going to fall dramatically. The $7,500 tax credit has gone away now.
Right.
It did result in a higher higher rate of sales right towards the end.
Yes, it did.
But we'll see what normal looks like as in the months ahead without that credit.
I'm surprised the stock's only down 19, given the fact that the numbers aren't that good. But remember, it's also not really trading on being a car company.
It's not about.
Although you have Uber out there talking about.
It's about humanoids, about robots, and self-driving. That's right. That's where Mr. Musk is focused.
I think that's
the attention of shareholders, and that's where he's going to have to deliver.
Did you see the Jonas note this morning?
Yeah.
I bought myself a humanoid robot.
I did see
Jonas
that.
is so much.
The weird part is, until it's fully autonomous in a sense, you have to acknowledge that some human has eyes on your kitchen or your bedroom as long as it's operating inside your house.
I was talking to Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, about the Vision Pro, which is what they're using, and it's kind of interesting because it's a
Order submitted.
That you think that Alexa knows a lot about you? I mean, this thing.
It's coming back down.
Whether you're wearing boxers or briefs or nothing.
Well,
this is like Commando. I want to know whether he's Commando.
The guy standing next to the lady doing the dishes was weird. That one.
Well, the dish. You see how long
By the way,
Jonas?
he looks pretty buff. That robot.
No, that's actually Jonas.
Wait. Oh, is that Jonas?
This is Jonas.
Such weird movement.
Not pictured robot.
Got it. But not
Adam's he hasn't been missing.
Don't want a short. I'm so scared of long.
I gotta tell people that when you meet Jonas in person, he's every bit as exciting and thoughtful and imaginative as you can ever imagine.
We
Just
also
terrific.
did, speaking of autos, Jim, we got Race, which, we talk a lot about the luxury end holding up, but shares are negative on the year.
Well, that's something.
I mean, Ferrari's been great.
Wow.
You take a look. There it is.
Winner for so long.
Yeah.
It's okay that it takes a breather.
It did get hit on that day when they took in their ambitions.
Oh,
in terms
gosh.
of, electric vehicles. A lot of
San Beda, by the way, up nicely, so it's not like everything's.
Spotify's down about 4.5% after earnings, Carl, and they again look to be pretty good. I think they had a price hike in the UK,
Keep
but
pumping.
stock's down about 5%.
Revenue up 7 was a beat. Paying subs up 12. Not bad.
No.
You got a big payout, Gambit?
Well, on the day of that it reports, it was up 20 at 6:30.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's highly erratic. Are you what are you trying to signal?
I'm trying to signal Casey, but she always is very busy. There she is.
Hi, Casey.
Is this ready?
I had so many
No.
Caseys in my left, I can't keep track of them.
Really quick, the other good one in at least audio media is iHeart, as these reports that Netflix is looking to license some video podcasts.
If we can get over 800, I think it can go up. Let's check on the bot. Bot is... No, it's not long yet. Wow, that's nice.
That's going to be, well, it was up double-digit pre-market. I'm just looking back. It's going to take it on iHeart
If
highest
I can
since
get this to green Gambit, I'm taking you out to eat.
They did have they were some pretty bad financial problems at one point. Good for them.
Pick you up this weekend, but you'll pay.
NCLH is, I think, the only
I'll
major
try.
cruise line that's red for the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you to the restaurant, but you still gotta pay.
When we had Royal on, Jason Liberty, people were saying, listen, be careful here. Because what's happened is that they're not filling up.
Dude, gin was so good yesterday or the other day. Oh, so good.
There's a mad rush at the end to fill.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude.
People kind of said, but it was still good. But the stock has not had a single good day since. Well, maybe there's been one or two, but this group has lost its luster. This was the last big travel group, and you don't want to see
For
that
you?
cruise.
Nah, I'll take you out.
I'm thinking government shutdown. There's also this notion of this Maylez notion, Jimmy Carter Maylez. David, there are people who
Have you been to Gin lately, Gambit? They have a new menu. They have like a premium one now. Yeah, you get like tomahawks and shit.
Well, the narrative has been consistent, which is the lower end consumer is stressed. They
Come
have
on,
been
bot,
for
go
a long
on.
time. But
Alright, I'm gonna end the stream, guys. I'm tired. Toodles.